because my view was like, look, I've been living on my own since I'm 15. I never asked shit from anybody. I got by on my own. These motherfuckers here can pull themselves up by their bootstraps. They shouldn't be asking for help from anybody. Okay? And that wasn't even a point of like, I'm not giving them my money. It wasn't even like that. It was more like, for their own good, they need to give up expecting things or thinking that they deserve something or that they're owed anything. All right? Well, you know what? I don't really think like that anymore. I've traveled more of the world. I've seen that a lot of people are not in a position to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. You know, traveling, like take inner city Chicago just as one example that I mentioned. You travel inner city Chicago and you look at this, you're like, these people cannot even speak English properly. You know what I'm saying? Not all of them, but some of them, right? They're like they went to school. Like they went to school and they studied hard, but the way that they speak English, I remember when I first went to Wendy's and there was a girl there and I said, hey, could I get a burger? And she said, yo, I want that with cheese. Right? I said, excuse me? She said, yo, I want a hamburger with cheese. I have no idea what you're talking about, miss. I'm sorry. She's like, oh, I want hamburger with cheese. And I'm like, how can this girl get a job? Like, you know what I'm saying, right? How can she get a job? She can't go to an interview. The interviewer can't understand her because of the culture that she lives in, right? So she does need help, and otherwise she'll have no opportunity. I actually had a lot of opportunity. I thought I was so hard done by as a kid just because I didn't have like what the other kids had. I had so much opportunity given to me in comparison to what other people got. It's ridiculous. It's insane how much opportunity that I had. Same thing when I traveled the favelas, like in Rio de Janeiro, right? Like I went into the ghettos in Rio de Janeiro. There's kids walking around with machine guns and stuff like that, all right? And it's crazy. These kids have no way of getting out. So my views changed, all right? I wasn't a hardcore right-wing kid anymore, you know? When I was a kid, I was like, fuck everybody, all right? That was me growing up. First 22 years of my life, fuck everybody, all right? That was my mindset. The world is a negative place. People have to fuck with me, that kind of thing. Because that's the kind of environment that I grew up in. Extremely negative, depressy, no fear of death. Growing up, no fear of death whatsoever. Welcome death. Just like, fuck this shit. Okay? Whatever happens, fuck it. It happens. I don't fucking care. All right? That was the mindset that I was coming from. So people see me now, right? Like people see me, I go back home, and the people who I used to relate to, the people who were my friends, and who still are my friends and will be till the day I die, they're kind of surprised. They're like, who is this guy now? Right? Who is this person? You know? The way that I used to dress totally changed. Right? You know, the style clothes that I wear, the personality that I have, the outlooks that I have, the types of friends that I would have. I have a lot of, like, hippie-type friends now, you know, not, like, tons, but, you know, I've got, like, kind of, you know, more people who have a totally different mindset than me, that kind of stuff, all right? Why am I talking about this? I want to encourage you guys to do the same. Get the kind of friends that you wouldn't normally have that have different views, that challenge, get friends that actually challenge your reality and don't just feed into your existing reality, right? Be the kind of person that you want to be. If you want to change your style, do it. If you want to change your personality, do it. Okay? If you see, like, look, say that you see the popular kids and they have like certain ways of joking or dressing and stuff, and you're like, I think that's funny. I think that's cool. Oh, but that could never be me. I could never do it. Bullshit. All right? You could do whatever you want. The core of you is always the same, but you can always evolve in whatever direction you want. You know who I really admire for this, by the way? You guys know Madonna, the singer? Do you guys see how she consistently reinvents herself? She never gets held back to one kind of image or one kind of personality, right? One minute she can be like the controversial, like sex girl or whatever, like the big, like making sex like more out in the open. Next thing you know, she's like all into this new religion or what Kabbalah or something, right? And she can be like a raver chick, a cowboy. She can do whatever she wants, all right? And that's the kind of versatility that I think the best guys with women have, is they have versatility. They can be gothic. They can be, really well put together, nice suit. They can wear any kind of thing. There's a really great guy with women, like the real masters. Remember, this is an advanced seminar here. Is this stuff necessary to get a girlfriend? Of course not. I'm talking about advanced, what you would call pickup artistry. Okay, you want to talk about the top guys, the best guys. If you want to play at that level, like just for fun, as a hobby, not because you need to play at that level. Nobody needs to play at that level. You don't need to go this far. Just for fun, all right? As a hobbyist, as a person who finds it as a hobby. If you want to go to that level, you can, all right? You can be versatile. You can dress how you want. You can be who you want to be. You can do what you want to do. You can do what you want when you want it, anytime, and nobody can say shit, all right? Nobody. It's your choice. You can do what you want. Now look, the next direction I want to take this in is I want to talk really clearly about what you deserve and what feedback is, and what social feedback is. In your concept, in your concept of who you are, your identity, you have that concept of what you deserve. All right? You know what you deserve in terms of women. So look, at most seminars, for example, we like to do affirmations. All right? Like if I say, what kind of girl do you deserve? Who here feels that they deserve a 10? And everyone will go, I deserve a 10. And they put, a 10. That's a value judgment. Such a value judgment, right? But the point is, whatever their 10 is, they would say, oh, I deserve it. But the truth is, let's think about what you really think that you deserve. All right? I want you guys to go into your minds and think about what it is that you think that you deserve in terms of women. Go into your mind and think, where do I view myself on the totem pole? And really think about it, because look, let me tell you something. When you know that you're on a girl's level, like when you're like, okay, I'm on her level, right? I'm on this girl's level, it's natural. You're going to behave naturally. And you're easily going to be able to create attraction with that girl. That's a very easy thing. I want you guys to think about maybe the last time that you were talking to a girl who you knew that you were good enough for her. And think about the casual way that you acted and the casual way that you came at it. And maybe, how that caused her to respond to you in a more positive way. Well, you see, what happens with a lot of guys is they have great skills when it's a woman who's, moderately attractive to them, right? If the woman is moderately attractive, they can work it. They're fine. But as soon as you put up that girl who's their quote-unquote 10, and by the way, when I say they're 10, I don't mean like 8. Fuck what other people think is a 10. You know what I'm saying? You don't date a girl that your guy friends are going to think are attractive. I mean, maybe you can do it, I've done it, so I can't, tell you not to do it. But the point is, this is like a phase that you go through, and then you've got to evolve past that, okay? You want to date who is your 10. Now, when you think, okay, if I'm going to be talking to my 10, are you going to feel totally like you deserve it? On all levels, you know that you deserve that girl, and you're totally at ease. There's no adrenaline going. There's no nervousness going. You're just excited. I mean, if you have adrenaline, it's like the adrenaline of just excitement to be meeting a girl that's really your 10, but it's not like an attachment, all right? When you know that you deserve that girl, attraction is automatic. It is so easy. It's so simple. It's so easy. You're not going to put your foot in your mouth. You're not going to be attached to the outcome. And there's all these little subtle things that you're going to be doing that are creating attraction in that girl when you know that you're on her level and that you're deserving of her. Does that mean that every girl on this planet that you know you're on her level is going to be attracted to you? Of course not. There's girls with wide ranges of personalities. There's no, ultimate way to get every single girl. But at the same time, generally speaking, when you're talking to a girl who's on your level, you're going to be able to create attraction so easily. It is so natural. On the other hand, what happens when you don't feel like you're on a girl's level? How does your behavior change in subtle ways? Any guesses?
Stutter.
Stutter. What else?
Trade status for approval.
Say that again?
Trade your status for approval.
Mm-hmm. Great. And how do you? What are some ways, behaviors that come up that cause you to do that?
Any kind of supplication where your voice is rising in tone because you're seeking rapport.
Mm-hmm.
All these subcommunications are basically oh, I want you to like me because you are here, somewhere down here.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to take it even more subtle. If you want to think on an even more subtle level, guys. A lot of the time when we study success with women, we look at the most obvious factors. We look at oh, he's he chased for her approval, or he qualified himself. But I want to even go more subtle than that. All right? I want to take it from an advanced perspective here. I want to think really, really subtle. Okay? The really, really, really subtle ways that you give away your power. Right? When you're in your head, look, when you're talking to a girl and you're in your head trying to think of the next thing to say to keep the conversation going further, on some subtle way she can feel that. When as she's talking, you're trying, look, it's okay to do it to an extent, but there's kind of a threshold where it's cool, and then a threshold that's you're giving your power away. And you're trying to relate what you have to say to what she's saying in order to further the conversation or to impress her. on some subtle level, the power is being given away. Now, let me stress here. We're talking about, again, like that kind of advanced pickup artistry type angle. Surely all of you have had girlfriends at some point who, you did that with. You tried to further the conversation. You wound up with the girl. So I'm not saying that it can't happen. But I'm talking if you want to be one of those guys who has like the type of rock star lifestyle that that we're talking about, like the real abundance, like just that guy that pulls, man. Like that guy that fucking pulls hard, can always do it. All right? That guy that is just coming from a lifestyle of total abundance. Typically, you've got to be very, very centered in your own sense of identity, your own sense of who you are, and you're not engaging in that subtle type of supplication, that extremely, extremely subtle type of supplication. Because, to me, there's two classifications, right? Like, you've got, like, the dancing monkey type guys, all right? Like, the guys who will go up to a girl, like, guys who go up to a girl, and it's like, oh, hey, blah, 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 oh, ha, 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 blah, blah, right? And they can keep the interaction going for a little bit and get the laughter, but there's no pull, all right? There's no close. And then you've got the guys who really pull, all right? The guys who are living in sexual abundance. And those are the guys who, from the core difference, know who they are, all right? So when I think about what is the core difference between a guy who's like more on the dancing monkey end of the continuum versus a guy who's more towards the, the sex-worthy guy, as Tim would call it, end of the continuum, your core sense of who you are is probably the defining factor of that, all right? The main defining factor between the dancing monkey and the guy that pulls, the sex-worthy guy, is going to be whether or not he knows who he is. So don't forget that, all right? You've got to begin to know more about who you are. We'll talk about that, so we'll get into that. So social feedback. This brings us back to some of the concepts that we talked about yesterday. What is social feedback? What is this secondary source from which you get your reality? So, we talked about this yesterday. And if you remember, we said first-hand experience versus second-hand experience. So your mind is always pinging, right? Always pinging to find out who you are. Find out what is permissible behavior in the environment. Find out what is normal. You do not figure out how the world works on your own, guys. You're not figuring out how the world works. What are some behaviors that you know not to do? We talked yesterday, jumping out of a window, right? How do you know not to take dirt off the ground and start eating it? How do you know not to put your finger in an electrical socket? Just out of curiosity, who has ever put their finger in an electrical socket? Yeah, how do you like it?
Oh, it hurts. It gets a tingly feeling.
Tingly feeling? That nice tingly feeling? Or more of like a extremely alarming tingling feeling? Or no, you like it? Yeah? Okay, cool. All right. Okay. I've done it once. The point is, look, you learn all these things. Why? Secondhand feedback. And look, what we're always doing on a subtle level, try to follow this, guys, on a very, very subtle level, is we're looking at how other people are reacting to our behavior. So, for example, say that you're a kid. Say you're 2 years old, right? And you pick up a little thing of dirt, and you're about to eat it, and then you see the little subtle expressions on other people's faces that are kind of like that, like that. These little subtle expressions, you're picking this stuff up. At least if you have any social acuity, right? Some kids and people are born without the ability to read social cues, and that's kind of like an issue that they have to, work on, and that's like a challenge that they have. But assuming that you have the ability to read social cues on some level, you're able to see what is normal, permissible behavior and what is bad behavior. And so you see how when your identity was forming, if you try to step up and you're seeing other people say, that's not permissible behavior, that's not the right way to act, then your mind goes, no, don't do that. Don't act cool. Don't act popular. Don't be fun. Whatever it is. That is what social feedback is. Now look, one thing that you got to remember is a great deal of your reality is 1, unverified, and 2 is secondhand. All right? You have not learned everything about the world on your own. You don't have time. You don't have the time and energy to go find out everything that there is to know about the world on your own. This is why we rely on secondhand information. That's a principle that you have to understand. First-hand information, second-hand information. You don't have the time to find out every little stupid thing about this planet on your own. You have to learn how to trust secondary information. So how does that affect you? How does that affect your identity? Well, look, your mind has like a radar system, right? We talked about this yesterday. Your mind has this little radar system that looks at how certain people are of themselves. Basically, it's saying, is this person's sense of reality more accurate than mine? Think about this, guys. Whenever you look at somebody, say that you're driving, right? And you say, is it right or left? And the guy goes, it's right. And he seems totally sure of himself. Your brain goes, oh, this must be true. Let's go to the right. Just because he seems sure of himself. Do any of you guys have any friends that always seem sure of themselves? Sometimes they're wrong and it like freaks you out. Yeah, right? And it's like, oh, and then you gotta and then eventually you've got to come to the conclusion, even when that guy seems sure of himself, you still gotta think. You can't totally trust it, right? Because he's just a very certain guy. You can't always listen to it. Reticular activation system is more when you tune into what has value to you, and definitely someone who has a lot of certainty of themselves would probably seem to have value. Radar system would be more like, RAS is like this. There's the whole picture, and it tunes into what has value to you. This would be more like, you've got a guy, and he's talking, and if it seems certain, then you'll believe it. And if he seems uncertain, then you go, nope, I'm not listening to that. All right, that's the best way I can put it to you. So, Ben, thank you for following with me. So look, when somebody else believes, like say one of the more popular kids, have you guys ever had one of the more popular kids in school sort of like try to put you down, and he was so certain of it that it exerted a psychological pressure on you to think that you were that nerd that he was pushing you as? You guys get that? Who here's had an experience like that where a kid did that? Okay, great. All right, good stuff. We've all had that. I remember a kid said to me when I was in like the 2nd or 3rd grade, he said, I'm better than you at everything. And I said, that's not true. I have some stuff. He goes, no, you have nothing good about you. I'm better at everything. And I said, that's not true. And he said, okay, name something. And I was like, oh, English. He's like, no, I did this and this and this. I was like, oh, right? I'm like, math. He's like, no, I got this and this and this. And I was like, oh. I was like, hockey. He's like, no, I got this and this. I'm like, oh. He's like, see? Nothing, right? And I was like, right? And I was like, right? But is it, like, look, how ridiculous is this, okay? This little kid, like in grade 2, for whatever reason, for whatever fluke, got the quality of being very sure of himself. Like he had that quality. For whatever reason, I don't know what it is. Who knows? Maybe some scientist can answer me this question, but for whatever reason, some kids on the playground are very sure of themselves. For whatever reason. Maybe their dad, maybe they've got like a big family, right? They've got like 10 brothers at school, so they know they've got the backup. Whatever it is, maybe they got popular early. Maybe they made the right contacts early in kindergarten playing G.I. Joe. But for whatever it is, they have that certainty of themselves. And what happens is when someone has a lot of certainty of themselves about who you are, there is a psychological pressure that is put on you to become that person. In fact, let me tell you a boot camp secret, all right? Because if I was going to do a seminar on how to teach boot camps, it would last a month. All right, let me tell you. One of the main reasons why, you can produce a transformation in somebody is whenever I teach a boot camp, I always believe to the fullest extent, this guy is a pimp. I believe it with 100% certainty. I treat you like a pimp. I talk to you like a pimp. And what immediately happens, you see the change in the demeanor immediately because the reality is being pushed on it, right? And because I do it every weekend, I've gotten good at imposing that reality. And that's why you see such a rapid change of behavior. Then, of course, the rest of the weekend is spent trying to staple this in and make it stick. So look, think of how this is affecting you and where people in your life made you feel like you weren't good enough. And just because they had more certainty than you, the people that did this to you could be total dumbasses, right? They could just have a level of certainty. A lot of stupid people in this world have a high level of certainty. Isn't that the truth? Yes. Right? A lot of dumb people have a really high level of certainty. Right? Positions of authority, sure. And so the thing is, yeah, I like that. This such a problem with politics, right? I'm a huge believer in democracy, but if you want to look at it objectively, one of the issues with democracy is you get a political leader who's like really, really sure of himself, but one of the reasons that he's sure of himself is because he ignores reality all the time. Okay? And then people will vote for him because they go, that's the guy. That's the one right there. He's the most sure of himself. Isn't that funny how that works? That's why people need to be educated to make the system work. Now, regardless, okay, you do not have to succumb to that kind of social pressure, but there's definitely a pressure that is there. We need to recognize it, all right? There is other people's concept of who you should be, and there's a pressure that's put on you to become that person.
So it's living up to that and living down to it, basically.
Yes, absolutely. What I try to do whenever I teach people is that same pressure that like a schoolyard bully would have put to push him down, I'm putting that same pressure but to be up. And in the same way that a schoolyard bully would say, if you try to act cool, would be like, fuck you, man, fuck you, right? For me, it's like if I see a guy trying to act chode, I'm like, what is this? What is this fucking chode shit? What the fuck is this chode shit, right? Come on, let's go, right? And so so it creates like a negative social pressure against chody behavior, right? That's how we teach a program, okay? Now, here's the next concept. This is big, all right? So pay attention. Okay? Imprints. I love this. God, I love this. Imprints. All right. Everybody in their mind has a concept of what a cool person looks like and what a not so cool person looks like. You guys have heard me mention that. All right? I want you guys to think of this as imprints. In your mind, you have that concept. It's based on one level, it might be an instinct that we're born with. Like it's an instinct just to know what high status behaviors are. Like in a gorilla, the gorilla puts his hands up above his head, and then other people say, okay, that's intimidation, right? That's like an innate one. Then we have social conditioning, the learned behaviors. In different cultures, there's different behaviors that could signify high status, right? Some cultures, they do a loose handshake. Some cultures, they do a firm handshake. But generally speaking, within your own culture, you have a very, very clear-cut idea of you have an imprint in your mind. Both, for some of you, it might be conscious. For some people, it might be unconscious of what a cool guy looks like and what a not cool guy looks like. Those of us who study social dynamics, we probably have a very, very good idea of what a cool person looks like. Why? Because we've read our little textbook, haven't we? Eye contact, check. Loose body language, check. Resonating voice, check. Very funny, check. Sure of himself, check, right? So we've read these books. And we have a clear-cut idea of what that is. Then, we can articulate that. But even people who haven't, okay? Say someone who's never studied social dynamics in their entire life, they may not have a conscious imprint of what a cool person looks like, but they definitely have an unconscious version. You may not be able to explain it, but you do respond to it. That's why when a really cool guy comes around, he has a lot of status, he may be able to impose a status on you. So think of it like a rough sketch. A rough sketch of what a guy who has value looks like, and a rough sketch of what a guy who does not have value looks like. All right? Now look. These imprints, you have an idea in your mind of how you're supposed to act. How am I supposed to act? What am I supposed to do? How is my behavior supposed to look? What your mind does is your mind is always pinging and looking at your situation. All right? It is always pinging. So think of it like this. If this is you, your mind is doing this all the time. Always. Unconscious. All the fucking time. You guys ever heard of the concept of culture shock? Who here has ever experienced culture shock? Having it right now. Having it right now? Great. All right. So look. What culture shock is where you go into another environment and you feel this very distorted feeling, like a surreal feeling, all right? I mean, I guess different people would have different descriptions. That's how I would describe it. It's like a surreal feeling of where you're there and you're like, what the fuck is this, right? Okay? I remember when I first went to Brazil, the culture shock, insane. Get out the airport, I'm driving down, and there's miles and miles of like favelas, right? Miles and miles and miles. And I get there, and I'm like, oh, what's going on here? And I haven't slept in like 2 days because it's an insane flight to get there. I go to sleep. I pass out after not, because I can't sleep on airplanes very well. I pass out after almost 2 days of not sleeping because of all these flight delays and whatnot. About 3 hours in, a Brazilian guy comes into my room and says, this is my room, get out, okay? And he's like one of these like really fit Brazilian guys who looks like he does capoeira or something like that, right? So I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? I gotta go home, man. What the fuck is this? So I was like, he's like, this is my room. And I thought that it was my buddy Nathan's room that I was in, okay? And that Nathan just wasn't there. I got the key. I'm like, how? And you know, the end of the story, very briefly, was I said, how can I figure out if this guy's lying or not? I go rip open his bathroom supplies to see what language they're written in, and they're all written in Portuguese. And I realized it really was the guy's room. Okay, this poor guy, they put me in his room, all right, and I was passed out. He found some stupid-ass white man passed out in his room, right? Okay, but basically, there's a culture shock that goes on there. You're walking down the street in Lapa. It's like, you know, what is this? There's just different mannerisms going on. I would imagine going to, you know, there's even more, much more culture shock places in the world, much, much more than that. So, why is that happening? Because your radar system is doing that, and it's going, it's like, you know, it's like you're flying in an airplane. It's like, where'd the ocean go? Where did all those things that we rely on, that we're pinging off of, go? Where did they go? Regardless, social imprints. We have these concepts of how we're supposed to act, and what your mind does as a radar system is it pings out, and it says, look, when you're here on the totem pole, you have one personality, right? Like, when you go to, it says this. When you're here, we use imprint number 1. Let's call it imprint number 1. All right? When we're here, imprint number 2. When we're here, imprint number 3. Do any of you guys ever feel so frustrated that you can be the coolest guy in one situation, but then sometimes when it really counts, you cannot be that same guy?
Yes.
Would you say that that is one of your biggest vexations in all social dynamics?
Yes.
Yeah? Because for me, this was huge. It drove me nuts. Around some people, I could be charismatic, I could be charming, I could be relaxed, comfortable in my own skin. But around other people, my radar system was getting thrown out of whack. And let me tell you, when you're first studying social dynamics and you're first getting into this stuff, you're trying to become a better person. And so when you start meeting people that don't buy into it quite right away, it can really mess with you. It can really bring out the worst in you. Really bring out a lot of turn-off, very unattractive behaviors in you. And certainly did for me many times. Probably still does sometimes. So look.
So your identity determines the level, look at imprints that you're getting 1, 2, or 3, is that it?
Mm-hmm. Well, think of it this way. You have these imprints are like different identities that you have, right? Well, look, one identity is like, think of it like this. One identity is like, hey, how you guys doing? You know, joking around, right? Having fun. You can look at somebody right in the eye. You're like, hey, how you doing, man?
Doing
hey,
great.
very good to meet you, right? Then another imprint would be like, it's like, oh, there's that guy. It's like, oh, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Hey, right? You know, like that. Or maybe like, you know, the other direction goes. Sometimes people go submissive. Some people try to be more alpha. You guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Like they go the other direction, the compensation, right? So it's like, hey, what's up,
Hey,
dude?
I'm doing right,
hey,
great,
bro. Yeah, right? And it's just kind of like, and you can feel that they're reacting. And it's never pleasant to be speaking with someone when they're reacting to you because they're like, oh, they're not comfortable with themselves, right? You don't judge it, but it's not as fun as just being, you know, around people that are just totally comfortable. It's not as much of a value situation for yourself. So,
Would you say it's appropriate in certain situations?
of course, yeah. I mean, look, truth be told, if you would have asked me a couple years ago, I'd say, no, you always have to be you, man. You always have to be you. Why? Because I don't work in the military, right? Like, I live in Hawaii and I have friends, like, in Iraq and the military and stuff like that. And like, they're like, nah, dude, if I do that shit, I'm screwed, right? I'm done, okay? And I've heard that a lot of people resent their corporate jobs because they're always having to beta themselves, right, within that environment. I have no idea if that's true or not, or if that's just in their own heads.
You can't go, hey, yo, what's up?
Uh-huh. Yeah? But isn't there a way that you can do that and still not be giving your power away? Because I deal with superiors all the time, and I don't feel like I'm giving my power away.
Definitely, but I
Yeah.
think your speech pattern is
Yeah.
a little bit more reserved versus a lot more.
Yeah, I feel like when I'm dealing with a superior, I'm just like, hey, how are you? It's just like very chill. It's like, hey, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, very good.
Yeah, so like that.
Just
but
chill.
If you're not solid in your identity, then everything's going to threaten that.
Okay. So you think that maybe the guys that say that the whole corporate thing's stifling them are just not solid in their identity yet?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I don't want to speak because I don't have experience with that, but
Even past that though, you know, like you'll have the boss that'll come in and tell some lame joke and like everybody laughs and you're like, and be like, you'll be like, why is he laughing? Then you create conflict because if you're not going with like his expectation, he's like, why the fuck isn't he laughing?
Yeah.
Everybody else is laughing, so it does create conflict.
Really?
Even when you have your identity firmly rooted.
You respect the position, but you respect yourself as well.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. That's a great nail it. Right? Yeah. Yeah, that's great, man. Respect the position, but respect yourself. You know, for me too, maybe as a side note, but I don't just maybe me throwing my 2 cents in the pot there would be like, I always try to like laugh at people's joke and make them feel good. You know what I'm saying? Like I always try to make people feel like comfortable. And there's 2 types, I think. On one level, you have people who you're trying to make feel comfortable, who are very beta, right? Like they're beta, so you try to make them feel good about themselves. On another level, you have these kind of like arrogant, obnoxious guys, and the natural fear is if I like laugh at his jokes and stuff like that, then it's just going to feed into that ego and make him even more tyrannical or annoying. But I don't believe in that actually. Okay, let me tell you why. I really believe, not always, but I believe that 90% of the time, when you speak with someone from your higher self, okay, when you speak with someone very genuinely and authentically, and you're very rooted in that, I believe that you can bring that out of people. I absolutely believe that. And I found that when you hear that someone has a bad reputation, like, oh, this guy's like, he thinks he's all that and blah, 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 if you can just chill with that guy, like, and don't judge him, right? You don't judge him at all. And maybe he says a couple obnoxious things, and you just kind of go, oh, huh, like you let him have the frame a little bit, but then you're just very authentic with him. A lot of time, you just see him just kind of, it's like, he almost like lets go of the tension, like, right? Like he can be himself around you, or she can be herself around you, because she can kind of let down that guard. So I think, yeah, on one level, you don't want to, like, you know, there is that level not wanting to feed into, but I do think a lot of the time you can help people to just like let go of that tension around you and be one of those types of people. But of course, if you're going to be one of those types of people, you've got to be that person yourself first, right? You've got to go. That's like a hypnosis principle. They say the first principle in hypnosis is go first, right? Like you've got like to like put someone in a trance. You've got to be in like a trance like state yourself. I'm not a hypnotist, so I can't speak, but I thought that was a cool concept. Anyway, so look, moving forward with these imprints, here's the quote that I would give for you. Your situation is always changing, and as it does, your mind is always looking at social feedback to determine how much value you have, figuring out what type of personality is most appropriate at the time. All right? What roles are most appropriate? So I'm going to repeat that because it's a mouthful, and I want you guys to understand it. Your situation is always changing. Okay? Your situation is always changing. And as it does, your mind is always looking at social feedback to figure out how much value you have and determine which personality is appropriate at the time. So basically, your mind is going, how much value do I have? How much value do I have? This much? Okay. We're going with this one. Okay, how much value do I have? How much value do I have? Oh, I have a lot of value? Okay, I'll let him do this one. Now, this is a key concept. This is huge. Because your mind is actually letting you have a certain type of personality. Like, it's letting you, right? Sometimes it won't let you. Have you ever approached a girl, and you know that you're charming enough, you know that you're charismatic enough to attract her, but for some reason, your mind won't give you the words. It's like, where's the words?
Yeah, from an evolutionary perspective, why wouldn't your mind automatically compensate?
I love that you asked that question because you're one step ahead of me.
All right.
We're going to talk about it. Good. And so essentially, look. Here, we'll keep moving, okay? Okay, quick question. Massive quick.
This is why women like multiple personalities with guys with different identities that they're accessing, you know, for a cool guy versus non-cool guy.
Yeah. What about it?
Well, that was it.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, good. So look, why do we only get access? All right? Why do we only get access to certain parts of our personality? Okay? Why is that? Why is it that sometimes the words are all there, flooding flooding out. Because, guys, you guys have had that, right? A night where the words just flood out? Yeah? Survival?
By the environment in that moment.
Yep, exactly. I'm going to get into it. Yeah, it's rhetorical. Why do we do that? Exactly, entitlement. Okay? Now, look. Got you thinking. That's good. So, look. Sometimes it's very easy to be confident. Sometimes it's hard. So, we pose the question. So, why would your mind only give you access to the part of your personality that it thinks other people will like? It definitely seems pretty counterproductive. Well, unlike now, the last couple thousand years that we've lived in a civilized society, in a society where if you piss someone off, I know it's unfortunate, they're not allowed to pick up a big rock and bash your head in. It's so annoying, huh? All these fucking dudes just want to bash their heads in with rocks and shit. You like have to like not do that. Anyway, so we now live in a society where life has value and people will not hurt each other. You can step up a lot, right? And nothing's going to happen.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
Like, you can go into a club. You could be the biggest dick in the world if you want. You know? And nothing's going to happen.
You say nothing can happen. You mean nothing.
I don't know, dude. I mean, look, I've been out for years. I've never seen a guy get beat up yet. All right? I've seen nothing. And some of the shit that I've made guys do before and that I've done is so stupid that you would think that someone would just come and just end it all. All right?
Clubs all the time.
I don't know, man. I never seen it. Like, you know, I just don't deal with it. Like, look, guys will... Here's the other thing. When you're in state, nothing fucking happens, all right? But look, maybe we have some counterexamples here, so maybe you will get beat up. But certainly I would say this, okay? All right? Maybe you're going to get your ass kicked, man. All right? And if you do, fuck it, so what? But you're still not going to get killed, all right? Has anyone ever seen someone get killed in a club? Am I going to lose on that one?
I haven't seen somebody get killed, but one of my friends actually, it's a really good friend of mine.
Yeah.
He almost got killed at a frat.
What did he do?
He was basically just like negging the girls at the party and like acting like a dick. And it was a social, it was a social circle. He wasn't really like invited there, but like he knew one of the guys. The guy was like, whatever. So he shows up, frat guy. Like this is basically what happened. He goes outside. They're like, dude, talk to your buddy, whatever. Goes outside to talk to his buddy. Dude jacked him, and like he woke up in a hospital the next day with a fucking like they had given him almost severe brain damage.
Really? Okay, so we're gonna edit this. Okay? Okay? So Tyler is right. Okay? Okay. Look, okay.
Situation.
So let's have core confidence, man. Alright. Look. Yeah, there's bounce. Look, you get in a fight in a club, and here's what you hear. You hear, right? Then you go, like that, okay? It's happened to me before, all right? It's happened to me. I get too excited. I'm like, fuck you, right? Then I hear, I get dragged out of the club, okay? Happened to me like a year ago, or no, like a couple months ago, all right? Okay? So look, kind of fun though, but anyway, look, for the most part, the threat level of violence, aside from these odd incidents, the threat level of violence is dramatically reduced, all right? And if you're chode at home, please do not be terrified by these incidents of which you have heard, okay? So, all right? Because for the most part, it's all good, okay? And, here, just keep going, but the point is, look, there's not a lot of threat level these days. For the most part, you can just be the biggest idiot. And I'm not encouraging you to be an idiot, but what I would say is that don't be afraid of being an idiot. Like, because I guess whenever you're trying on a new behavior, of course it's going to look stupid sometimes. Of course, right? Any newbie is going to look like a dumbass. That's called a reality. Like anytime that you're a newbie, you're trying on all these new behaviors. They're not calibrated yet. You know that feeling when you see someone who knows he's not cool and he's trying to act cool? How cheesy that looks? That's going to be you, right? You are going to be that guy. You're going to be the dumbass looking guy when you're trying on a new behavior because it's not new yet. All right? You have not learned how to do it yet, so it's not calibrated. Well, okay, so are you afraid of that? If you're afraid of that, then the range of your personality will never expand. All right? Your personal range is not going to expand. So you've got to get over that, all right? Look, let me tell you something. A very, very big part of mastery in terms of success with women is ability to endure humiliation repeatedly. And isn't that funny, by the way? Most guys here would be completely willing to get in a fight with somebody and get really hurt if someone steps over their boundaries. Why? Because that's a manly thing to do, right? It's like you will go to the utmost extreme to live up to your identity, won't you? But when it comes to humiliating yourself, we don't want to do that, right? That's almost worse than getting beat up because humiliation is not a part of your identity. You know, where being manly is part of your identity, looking like a dumbass chode is not a part of your identity. Why does your mind come up with a system that doesn't let you act above your range? Basically, in the interest of keeping you alive, your mind has evolved an emotional system that gives you encouragement to access the confident part of your personality, the confident imprint, whenever you think you have value. And it gives you discouragement from accessing it when you don't. This emotional access issue is something that you still deal with today, even though most of the threats that it was designed to help you avoid no longer exist unless you live in a frat and get your ass kicked because you were being a dick for negging. So, look, the name of this emotion, as is commonly applied to girls, is state. All right? That's just straight verbatim from my notes. So, again, we have this system where it says, look, imagine it like this. If you were in a tribe a long time ago, human beings are social creatures. So if you lived in a tribe and you got kicked out of the tribe, you're done. All right? Imagine being dropped off in the middle of the forest right now. Maybe back then you'd have a bit more survival skills, but for the most part, if you get kicked out into the middle of the forest, you're done. Because human beings' two major assets is intelligence, like innovation intelligence, and the other is like social bonding, right? Those are our two major strengths. So if you're going to take away all your social links out of the equation, you're done. So if you get kicked out of your tribe, does that, like today, whereas that's kind of like really embarrassing and annoying, what happens if you get kicked out of your tribe for the first couple million years of human evolution? Death. So, as a result, if somebody puts a knife up in your face, you feel a certain emotion, right? And if you get really, really humiliated, what emotion do you feel? It's a similar type of emotion. I would say it's probably not quite as bad, but the point is it's a similar type of emotion. So these emotions are designed to make you not step up. Say that you've got the alpha male guy who has the harem, right? He's the one who's hooking up with all the girls and getting his genes passed on. And then you start acting more confident, which is a way that the women are going to become attracted to you. If you don't have the value to back that up, there's a really big issue. And so what your mind does is evolve the system to prevent you from doing that, is to make you not do that. There was an evolution documentary hosted by none other than Alec Baldwin that I was watching. And, right, it was cool. And they showed a scene where this caveman climbs up into the tree and he shakes out a beehive and throws it on the ground. And he gets stung in the process, but because he's the one who can throw the beehive on, like he has the courage to go up and pull down the beehive and throw it on the ground, and then these like caveman guys can like eat the honey like blah, blah, like while they're getting stung too. Come a long way, right? So because basically he could do that, he has the status within the tribe. By him offering that value, he secures the status within the tribe. So he's going to be more confident to act in the way that he wants to act, essentially. That's what's going on there. So this is what we call this. We call it state. We also have another word for it that we've adopted. Anyone know what it is? Starts with the N. The nimbus. Super cyan, yeah.
Is that a real word?
Nimbus? Yes, it's biblical. It means the shining ball of holy light, which emanates from the great saint. Okay, or something like that. Did I get that right? I'm not too up to date on my biblical stuff. Is that the exact definition?
It's like a halo.
The halo? Yeah, the nimbus. The radiant light.
So would nimbus be like when you give yourself permission to be who you really are?
Yes. Exactly. I thought you were like, is Nimbus RAS? I'm like, no. Right? No, yeah. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah. Just joking. No, yeah. When you give yourself permission to be who you really are. Great definition. Absolutely great definition. Yeah. So basically, with Nimbus, okay, your state, what we say about state is a fancy word for confidence. All right? State is a fancy word for confidence, but it's more than that. Okay? Your state is the emotional system which looks at the situation to see whether or not you have value and gives you access to the part of your personality that works best. So let me give you guys some characteristics of being in state. One, and look, you don't necessarily, if some of these jump out at you, you can write them down, but you don't necessarily need to write them down. Okay? 1, a feeling of being complete. 2, a surge of positivity and steadiness and dominance. Do you guys like that word surge? I like that word. Like, it's like when you're really in state, it's like a surge of sort of positivity and dominance and just like funniness a lot of the time. Next, a sort of naturalness where everything clicks. I love that, man. Everything, when you're in state, everything clicks. All right? Next. Man, this is huge. A feeling that you are the source of good emotions in the environment. Think about that. Consider that. Whenever you're in state in the environment, you feel like you're the one who's the source of good emotions. Think of all the ramifications of this. When you have the good emotions, you walk up to the girl, is there approach anxiety? No. How can you have approach anxiety? I'm the source of good emotions. Right? I'm the one offering the value. You're the source of good emotions. Who here's ever really experienced really having a super on night and being in state? Awesome. Would you guys say that feeling like you are the source of good emotions is a defining characteristic of that?
Yes.
I love that. And beyond that, it's a feeling of total abundance where nothing could go wrong. That's the other side of the coin, right? A feeling like you're the source of good emotions and a feeling like nothing could go wrong. So when you go up to the girl, you're not thinking, oh, what's going to go wrong? Like, oh, is this girl going to blow me out? That is not entering into your thought processes. It's not entering into the stream of thought because nothing can go wrong. You're coming from a position of total abundance. You know, when you're in state, even if someone was rude to you, you wouldn't take it on board as being your own fault. So you're just like, yeah, whatever. There's other people here. Boom. You're coming from total abundance. You're the source of good emotions. You offer the value. All right? That's the key. It's a flow where everything is clicking. How about being out of state? I would describe it like this. It's a feeling of being incomplete. It's a burden of being weighed down, anxious, or antsy. Next keys, it's a sort of unnaturalness where everything is off rhythm and ill-timed. Okay, like your jokes are off rhythm, your jokes are ill-timed. And lastly, and again, the key to being out of state here, absolutely, the key to being out of state is that you view other people as a source of good emotions. It's a scarcity-based mindset. Other people are the source of good emotions. That's like you're in the club, and how can you tell someone's out of state? He's going like this. He's going like this. Value scanning. Yeah, he's going like that. And he feels alienated from the environment. When you're out of state, you feel alienated from the environment. Like everyone's having fun and you're not, but you know you're supposed to be doing approaches. So you're like, oh, okay, maybe I've got my, it's like this, right? This is what you're trying to do.
Very good counsel with the tribal leader.
Yeah, you're going like this. Hold this cup. You've got your half full cup, right? Okay, a little less. Okay, we do a close up. You got your half full cup, and you're going like this. You're like, okay. That's what you're doing, all right? Okay. That's being out of state. All right? So okay, you feel like other people are the source of good emotions. And you're trying to get those good emotions, okay? It's a mindset where other people have the value and you're worried that you might bother them, right? That's the key. It's like the big distinction, one, you have the good emotions and you don't care, right? The other is you have no good emotions, and you're self-conscious. You do care. Okay? You're self-conscious. You do care. And so when you're out of state, you're like, oh man, the moment's not good enough as it is. But if these other people would like me, I could start to feel good. That's the defining characteristic of being out of state. So look, when you're in state, you have full access to the best parts of your personality. That nice imprint, that cool guy personality, okay? I say it like, I'm kind of like the cool guy personality, but that's what it is, right? Like it's your cool guy personality. You have access to that. You have access to, you know when they say be yourself? Well, really what it is, if you think about it, is be your best self. That's really what it is, right? They're not telling you be this lame-o, needy guy, right? Be yourself. But they're saying be your best self. So you basically have access to your best self, to that best side of your personality. Your mind quiets. You're in the moment, and you're totally outside of your head, all right? Your mind quiets down. All this bullshit self-dialogue, it just quiets down. You're in the moment, and you're outside of your head. It's the feeling that guys live for, you know? It's the feeling that guys fucking live for. And that's also why, going out and being successful with women can become such an addiction, because it can be a gateway or a portal to getting in state. It can become this massive addiction because of that. Your mind is quiet, in the moment, and everything that you do just works. What that means is, like when you're really in state, like when the nimbus is raging, you could see a girl and you could be like, hey, right? Walk up, pick her up over your shoulder and just start like jumping, And that's your opener, right? You can see her, hey, come here. Who are you, right? And that's your opener. And that's it. And that's all that you need. You don't even really need to do anything because the state is handling it, right? Like when you're really in state, the level of quote-unquote game that you have to use is almost non-existent. You can just be like, hey, what's up? But because you're in state, it's like, okay, you know how I could put it to you? If you think of like the imprint of a cool guy, let's say that there's a rhythm to his speaking patterns. Let's say that a woman's unconscious mind can recognize this as being a rhythm, okay, to what like a cool guy's speaking patterns look like. And by the way, it's not like every guy has a different rhythm to his speaking patterns, but then there's like the sub-level that's like indetect, like you can't, it's not like the surface level, it's like the depth of it. And when you're really in state, your rhythm is like this. It's like nice and flush. You know what I'm saying? Right? And then when you're out of state, if anything, it's more like, you're more like, you're trying to hit the rhythm, but it's just, it's not working. That's why when you're in state, your jokes just hit, right? They hit. You say something, hits. Whereas when you're out of state, you're like, you do the joke and you're kind of like that, and it doesn't hit. So,
values congruent to who you are.
Oh yeah. So the thing is like, everything that you do when you're in state just works. All right? Now what about when you walk up to a girl? Nice eye contact. You can spout anything off, and girls just think it's awesome. Like, you just say some silly stuff, and girl thinks it's hilarious. And you never feel like you're going to run out of things to say. Your humor hits, and people follow your lead. That is what being in state is, all right? Naturals tend to go in state more often than regular people, and that's what allows them to be natural. How about when you're out of state? Sucks. Hate being out of state. It can... You say your funniest jokes, nobody laughs at it, right? You say your best pieces, like you could have like some pickup line that always works, and you're out of state, you walk up with the same sort of confidence, like you're out of state, you walk up, the same eye contact, everything, but you do it, and it just doesn't work, all right? There's just something that's not there, and it's the characteristics that we talked about. So when you're out of state, it doesn't work. So see, what's interesting, of course, is that when you learned the game through pickup lines, and then you start having these really on nights, for any of you that have learned how to meet women through a lot of pickup lines, you don't even necessarily have to become a natural right away. But what I would encourage you to do is when you're having that really on night, and you're like, damn, you're like, the nimbus is on, right? Say to yourself, you know what? Now that I feel like this, I'm going to stop with any lines. right now, and I'm just going to see what happens. Try that, and you'll see what happens, and if you like it, maybe later you could just stop using the lines altogether. See? So that's what I would encourage. That's kind of how I got started on it. Now, one thing that I think is important is that whenever you have a new concept, you also understand why it works. Because when you understand the reason why it works, you have more faith in that concept, and you can sort of click it into your reality a little bit better. So basically what it comes down to is state subcommunicates value. That's the best way that I could put it to you. When you're in state, people's unconscious mind says, this guy must have value. This guy must be hooked up. This guy must be the shit. Even beyond that, I'm just continuing, this sort of bleeds into like tomorrow and the next day's lecture, but ultimately people want to be on the receiving end of authentic communication. And when someone is in state, that will tend to communicate that they're coming from a position of abundance. And when they're coming from a position of abundance, they have less need to be inauthentic, less need to bullshit. Because think of it this way. If you've got, just kind of making a funny, comical situation, like a big harem of women and, feeding you grapes while you sit there in a toga or something like that, right? And you've got all the money that you could ever want and all the friends you could ever want. You've got everything. You're just sitting there. If you speak your mind, it's like, yeah, this is what I think, right? It's like, you remember Marlon Brando in The Godfather?
Oh, yeah.
He just kind of says whatever he wants to say. He just says it. He's like, oh, yeah, I like these orange peels. Oh, look in my mouth. Right? And he just, he'll just do it. So, like you see these movies where there's sort of like a town hall meeting, and they're all like, what do we do with this, like, town problem? And then the guy at the back sort of stands up, and he's like, listen. And the whole room's like, and they all turn around and face him. And that's because he's speaking authentically, right? Like, there's something in almost like the flow, right? Where it's like, it's just coming out, so it's like a piercing arrow that's just sort of coming out, and people can see that it's authentic, so they go, snap, and their heads just immediately, even with all the ruckus, their RAS goes, authentic, and it just hears it, right? And so to me, I think that when we're in state, and there's millions of counterexamples of like people that are in state all the time that are just nasty people. But the point is, I think generally speaking, as a generalization, when you're in state, that's when you access your best self. All right? That's when you're being your best self. And so people are just more inclined to be around that. All right? So on one level, it communicates that you have value. It communicates that you're hooked up. On another level, you're coming more authentic and you're more your best self. By the way, we had a couple questions.
So you're saying you should try to always be in state?
I'm going to talk about that issue, so we'll get to that in a second, yeah? And what was your thing?
My thing is, like, I understand how state subcommunicates value, because people just generally assume, I guess, that if you're happy, you must have something to be happy about. But, which is kind of dumb when you think about it, I guess, because, you get people that, like, their football team wins, and they're like, we did it. And you're like, what the fuck did you do?
Yeah, I mean, any generalization can have counterexamples, of course. So what were you saying then?
Well, doesn't that mess with your head? Because, like, when you go out and you're in state, you're going to have a great night. And when you go out and you're out of state, you're like, damn.
I'm going to get to that. Yeah, what you just said there, I'm going to get to that. Yep.
There could be different levels of state, where if you're just in a casual situation, you can be in a casual state, and if you're in a situation, you can be in a better state. But never a negative state, though, just always being who you are at whatever level of intensity you need to be.
Absolutely, and I absolutely agree with that. And beyond that, Jeffy has a great example where he calls it like the raging brush fire versus like the white hot searing coal, right? And so on one level, you can kind of like be in state and just be like jumping around and like twirling girls around and stuff like that. And then on another level, you might be able to just walk up to like really, really low key, like, hey, just really, really low key. And it's like the hot searing flame, or hot searing coal, right? And, even when you're sitting there, something I'll talk about more tomorrow or the next day, like you can be sitting with your friends and just sort of like in the moment, just kind of just chill, really relaxed, not trying to impose your frame on anybody, nothing like that, but you're just feeling those good emotions in your own body, just in a very relaxed way. And then when you speak, it just comes out nice and crisp, So yeah, there's definitely different levels. And then sometimes it can be injected with a high level of enthusiasm, and just different levels of it. And ultimately, like we said, any concept that we come up with are just signposts to a specific place. So I've tried to cover the angles, but there's going to be a million different examples that we could come up with. Absolutely. Now look. Basically, what, like we said, from a woman's perspective, it's if he's in state, he must be getting sex. I mean, right? That's the kind of simple way of putting it. Of course, because women aren't socially conditioned to be like, I want to date a guy that's having sex with lots of other women, right? They're not socially conditioned to think like that. And if you were to say that, she'd say absolutely not. But at the same time, she does want the guy who could be. She wants the guy that could be. She may not even logically want it, but it's what she responds to. She might say, I hate guys like that. The last 5 guys I dated were like that, and I hated it. Right? Yeah, okay, thanks. Thanks for letting me know what you respond to. So, all right, so, look, you're not trying to impress, you're not trying to persuade, you're not trying to conform, because you have no reason to care. All right? So look, the next issue, and this is massive, because if you don't get this, then the bit that I've taught you guys for the last hour is going to do more harm than good to you. All right? So I want to say that if that doesn't hook your attention, I don't know what will. Pay very close attention. All right? If you don't understand this, then your knowledge of state will mess you up more than help you. All right, so let's pause. Really think about this. What do you guys think could be some of the downsides of knowing about state and being aware of it? What could be some of the downsides of that?
Being self-conscious.
Self-conscious?
Self-conscious?
Causes something to force it. And
What's that?
You're gonna get addicted. You want to force it, and then not getting it.
Yeah.
Getting that.
Is trying to force state a good way to be in state?
What?
Is trying to force state a good way to be in state?
No, because you won't get it. And there's that whole paradox about it.
Paradox. The paradox, right? Absolutely. These are great answers. Look, the concept of state is meant to be liberating, right? When you first find out about it, when I first realized it myself, I would take guys out in a boot camp who typically would have pickup line after pickup line, after reverse pickup line, and backwards pickup line, and forward somersaulting, backwards flipping pickup line. And I'd say, fuck that. Look, let's just get in state. I'd get them in state. I'd say, just say whatever you want, even nonsense, even the death, boring interview style questions, and it will work. I show them this, they're blown away, liberated. They feel like the chains are ripped off. This is when I first started teaching this way. But later they'd contact me and they'd say, what? I mean, this is a couple years back. What would they say? Man, it's like, now that I'm so conscious of state, I'm paranoid and I don't go into state anymore. Right? See, the problem is, when you know that state matters, you're going to resist it. All right? You will resist. It will create all sorts of problems. So first thing in your head is a personal boundary. This is an absolute personal boundary, and that is this. While on one level you can understand that state is liberating, you can understand that state allows you to do what you want, say what you want, and that it works great. On another level, you have to have a personal boundary, which is this. If I'm not in state, I'm just going to go through the motions anyway. I will never monitor whether or not I'm in state. I will just go through my life. All right? You cannot be thinking, oh, am I in state? Am I not in state? You can think it for a while. Look, as a newbie coming to a new, or not even as a newbie, even as an advanced guy coming to a new level of understanding, of course you're going to check the ranges and the boundary lines and things like that, and you're going to goof up. But as like a permanent way of being, once you've reached the ideal level, you're not going to be monitoring this type of thing. You're not like, am I in state? Am I out of state? Nothing like that. All right? So the first level is a personal boundary. You will not resist it. Now let me tell you the next concept. This concept is a key tenet of Eastern philosophy and has changed my life in more ways than I could express.
State is a higher level of being which threatens ego.
What's that?
State is a higher level of being and it threatens your ego, and that's why you don't want to do it.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. He said that state is a higher level of being and threatens your ego. It's absolutely true. We'll get into that definitely during this conference. So look, resistance. Guess what I'm going to give you guys now? It's a concept from Eastern philosophy. I'm going to give you guys a new emotion. Guess what? You guys got a new emotion today. All right? So what are some of your emotions? Like happiness, sadness. What are some other emotions? Anger, fear, anxiety, sorrow. Well, look at this. Look at it. Poor horny. All right, look. Feeling a little randy. Look. Look at this. Resistance. Don't forget it because, look, that's your new emotion for the day if you've never heard of it. Resistance is an emotion. And this emotion, do you remember how yesterday we talked about how with love, people, because love, the concept has not been broken down sufficiently, and so your experience, as a result of your language and your concepts, your experience of say like you're needy, right? Like say like you're just really needy for this girl's validation, and that creates a strong reaction in you. Like, I really want this girl's validation. It's creating a strong reaction, and you don't know if you don't know what neediness is, then you'll mistake neediness for love. Well, likewise, if you don't know what resistance is, then a lot of your negative emotions like depression, frustration, anger, that are really being caused by resistance, you don't know what they are, and then you'll believe that they're real. You'll fuel them. You'll add fuel to them by identifying with them. So essentially, look, resistance is the emotion that you experience when you wish that the reality that was in front of you was in some different way. All right? Now here's what's interesting. Let's say that you wish that you were in state. You're like, man, I want to be in state. I want to be in state. And your thought loop is going, I want to be in state. I want to be in state. What that's creating is this emotion right here. Resistance. You're resisting it. You're resisting the reality that's right in front of you. Okay? So a sort of a Eastern philosophical-based concept, or sort of Zen concept, is never resisting the now. Like a total acceptance of what is immediately in front of you. Paradoxically, you also have to have the will to change reality. In the sense, we call that right action. Like you have to know to take right action, but you never resist the reality that's in front of you. What resistance means like this. Like, I don't like the way that this is. I don't like this. I don't like this. As opposed to like a more sort of Zen way of looking at it, which is like, this is what it is. What's the right action? Go. All right? So basically, this emotion resistance, which comes in so many other ways, and it has so many different dynamics, it's not even funny, causes a great deal of most of the bad emotions that are in you. So one example that you might learn if you study that sort of thing is like, say that you're depressed, right? You're depressed and you're like this. You're like, I'm so depressed. I'm so depressed. Ugh, I hate being depressed. I hate that I'm like this. I hate that I'm such a piece of shit that thinks like this. All right? And then, what if you just say instead, this is a classic Eckhart Tolle thing. Just say, well, I'm depressed. I don't mind. That's okay. I'm depressed, right? Basically not identifying with the emotion, but recognizing it as a chemical reaction in your body, right? You don't identify with that. You don't say, you're not like, I am depressed in the sense like your core essence is depressed. It's just like my body's having a chemical reaction, which are called the emotions of depression. I'm depressed. Well, I don't mind. And what that does essentially is it creates space. That's what Eckhart Tolle calls it. It says, creates space between you and the emotion. So likewise with state, right? If you're like, oh, I'm out of state, and you're sitting there in the club, right? You're sitting there and you're like, I don't want to do an approach right now because I'm out of state. And you're thinking like that, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Resisting.
If you're going, I'm out of state, what are you doing?
You're fighting the moment.
Fighting the moment. Resisting. Good. Fighting the moment. Great way of putting it. So look, resistance is going to do a lot more to put you out of state than being out of state is. All right? Resistance, that's the greatest way to keep yourself out of state. Like, first is like, oh man, I learned that I just got to be in state. If I'm just in state, then it's the shit. But then you get out there and you're like, oh, I'm not in state. Fuck, I need to be in state. I need to get girls, man. I need to get in state, right? And what happens? You resist. And then it's fueling that. You're not only identifying with the emotion of being out of state, which is fueling it, making the experience so much more vivid, but beyond that, you're actually creating a field of negativity within yourself. Yeah.
So resistance is just the opposite of acceptance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so what that means is that when you're out of state, the first gateway out of that is accepting it. That's the first gateway out. All right? Like, I'm out of state. No, I don't mind. And then the second, of course, is that personal boundary. You're like, so it's like this. Look, say I go out and I'm like, I'm out of state. I'm like, well, this sucks. I'm like, I just feel like a dumbass right now. I'm out of state. So I'm not really, and then I go, well, I'm going to live a long life, hopefully, and probably be out of state many more times. Hopefully I can live many more days to be out of state sometimes, you know? I mean, it's just, that's how it is, right? Even the pros experience it. That's fine. Okay, so I'm out of state. Well, I don't mind. Anyway, I have a personal boundary, and I'm going to talk to some people, so I'm going to go talk to somebody. Cool. And if they reject me, I don't mind, right? I'm not going to resist it, and I'm going to take right action, all right? So that's like your first layer of, almost like your first level of defense, okay, to being out of state. It's like, don't resist it, don't dwell on it, just take right action, okay? And look, yes. You hear the quote there, guys? Very important quote in this. That which you resist persists. So if you're like, I'm out of state, it will persist. If you're like, oh, I'm so depressed, it persists. So that which you resist persists. Don't resist it. Just be accepting of it. That's the gateway out. All right?
Be present.
Yeah, be present. We're going to talk about that. So basically, I'm out of state. I'm like, okay, so I'm out of state. Now look, taking right action is a muscle, okay? In fact, we have many different psychological muscles. Like, for example, you guys know decision making? Decision making is a muscle. Agreed? Yeah, decision-making is a muscle. You guys know people who are not used to making decisions? And they're locked in indecisiveness, and you can see that. Is that a very good quality for attracting women? No. Indecisiveness, right? Do you want to know how bad indecisiveness is for attracting women? I'll be teaching a boot camp. Say that you're on boot camp, and we're taking some girls out of the club. Like, let's get out of here. Boom, let's go to the club. And they're like, where are we going? And you're like, I'm not sure yet. Let's just go. They'll just instantly, we got to go. Gone. Why? Because he showed indecisiveness. A girl wants a man who knows where he's going, right? She said, you know what? Women are real lenient most of the time. They're really cool about this stuff. They're so cool about this stuff, it's not even funny. But if you don't even know where you're going, then it's like, nah, man, like, who's this guy, right? So the thing is, the better answer would be, we're going here. Obviously, if you have enough value, then maybe it wouldn't matter. But when it's on the fence, that'll blow you out. So, all right, look. Here's a freaky sort of phenomenon, if you think about it, with this whole in-state or out-of-state thing. We live in a society, like going back to social conditioning, where the idea that bad emotions are a valid excuse not to act is actually feasible to most people. Like, most people really think that I'm too scared is like a good reason not to do something. It's crazy, right? Like, it's insanity. Like, I'm not going to do that. It's not fun, right? Like, it's too scary. I'm not going to do an approach. It's too scary, right? Like, they think, oh, I'm not going to do whatever amount of work I have to do. It's just going to take too long, right? It's too much trouble. It's too long. Oh, it doesn't feel good. I'm not going to do it. That's the type of society that we live in. Most societies before ours really valued the concept, or not most, but I don't really know, but many society before ours and many successful ones really valued the idea of right action, all right? Right action is a muscle, like saying, this is what is required to be done, and I'm going to do it regardless of emotions. Like, you feel the emotion in your body, but you just move forward anyway. Imagine it being like you're hammered, like you're just drunk out of your mind, you're shit-faced. And a policeman were to say to you, walk a straight line, right? And you're just totally shit-faced. And you just try. You're like, oh, right? You just try to walk that straight line. That's what most of my life is, all right? I don't drink alcohol at all, by the way. But most of my life is me, like, fucking shit scared of what I'm doing all the time. I'm shit scared all the time, guys, okay? Like, a lot of my life I live in experiencing a lot of fear. Likewise, sometimes overworked, whatever it is, disciplined, and that's how I go. Look, you think that the life, like, you think as a guy who's successful, it's all smooth and shit, right? Like, oh yeah, man, like this guy that's successful in his business, like Bill Gates or something like that. You think it was like all smooth, like just smooth sailing, just point A to point B, man, just smooth sailing. No, successful people in this world, it's like, there's the goal. It's messy, man. The shit is messy, right? And you're just like, whoa. Maybe you get kicked back, right? And then, boom, and you get there. And then the rest of the world goes, he's so lucky, right? That guy's so lucky, man. That guy doesn't deal with the types of issues that I deal with. That guy's so lucky, man. As if he had some kind of opportunity. When more often than not, it's the people who had the least opportunity in life that made it happen. So look, like for example, you know with pickup, right? I bet you guys think that like the quote unquote top guys, when they pick up girls, it's like all smooth, right? Like it's all smooth and shit. Like, yeah, man, I just fucking sailed in there and shit, right? Open, we make out, let's go. It's sometimes like that, right? Maybe 5% of the time, whatever, right? It's like that sometimes. More often than not, it's messy, all right? You guys know Ozzy? Ozzy's like, he's like, man, like these guys, they can't handle the truth on this, man. He's like, a bull, it is messy. It is messy, man. It's like, let's go. Let's go. She's like, no. Like, no, let's go. Let's go. It's messy, man, but most guys, they can't handle that. They think it's smooth. They think it's pretty, man, like ballet. No, man, it's messy, man. They can't handle the truth, man. Okay? All right? That's what he says because, you know, that's what it is, dude. Look, I'll go out with Ozzy on executive retreat. We'll be out 7 days. He'll get laid probably like 5 times. All right? No joke. That guy, Ozzy's one of these dudes who will like during like off executive retreat, he kind of just hibernates and then goes out. But then as soon as executive retreat comes, the guy's always, he's like, boom, 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 boom. He's like, come on, close, motherfucker, close, right? He's just like, he's always like that. And you'll see him, right? He'll be dancing with girls, and they're like, no, go away. And he's like, hello, I'm Ozzy. Go Tiger. Oh, you like it? Yes, I like it. Oh, it's nice, right? And this is Ozzy, right? He's nuts, okay? And he is proof that you could say anything. You want proof? You go watch Ozzy. The stuff that he says makes absolutely no sense to me. Okay, I can't even understand most of what he says. And he goes like that, right? Because he's so fun, right? He's got such a vibe about him, fun, decisive, all that kind of stuff. You know, he's in his late 30s, right? And as you get older, you get better at this stuff. Every year that goes by, you get better and better at it because you become more centered. You know, Ozzy at 25 could never have done that stuff. So look, when you move forward, when you're out of state, what you need to recognize, there's not really, the only division between people who are quote-unquote courageous and people who are cowards is that the courageous people are willing to go, and just walk through all the fog of bad emotions. Because isn't that what being out of state is like, right? It's kind of like walking through a fog. There's like a lack of clarity there. And you're just kind of trying to move through it, you know? So you move through it. That is your personal boundary. It's called right action. Guys, I really want you to take this home with you. Think about what is right action. And look, if you go home, let's come back to this word here. Resistance. Say that you go home and you don't take right action. What are a lot of guys going to do? How's the thought process going to go? Think about it within the context of what we just talked about with resistance.
Their self-talk's going to justify the whole non-action.
Mm-hmm. They want to approach it, they're not in state.
It's like this.
They'll backward rationalize reasons why they feel like they shouldn't go out. Mm-hmm. Like they feel it and they know like that's the path.
Yeah.
If I go out, I'll learn something. I might not pull ass, but maybe I can have a good time. Maybe I can make some cool friends.
Yeah.
So like the meaning that they're assigning to going out. But if they just stick in that emotion and they're resistant to it, I don't want to go out. Then they'll just keep making up excuses and they'll just sit at home.
And and all these points are very important points. And even taking it further, when we think about the types of thought loops, when you think about resistance, a big one as well is like, oh man, I took that RSD seminar and they talked about right action, and I totally didn't do it. Oh, it's so bad that I didn't do it. I didn't take right action. It's so stupid. Why didn't I do it? I'm so stupid. I told myself in that seminar that I was going to do the right thing, and I didn't do it now. It's so stupid. I'm so worthless, whatever, right? And so what's happening is they're creating like a negative energy field within themselves, like a negative, like when I say negative energy field, I just mean like it's like that negative vibe within themselves because they didn't do what they were supposed to do. So if you don't take right action, look, all the time I don't take right action, okay? Let's say that I take right action a third of the time or something, but that most people only do it like 2% of the time, then that's good. So that and maybe by the time I'm 50, like one goal for me is I'm trying to become the best leader that I can be and offer the most value that I can offer. Like I would love it if by 50 or 60, you know, if I could really just offer so much value because I've cultivated that side of myself. So like by every day practicing taking right action, even in spite of your emotional issues, you become better and better at it, all right? And you learn to push through state issues. And meanwhile, when you learn not to resist, all right? So think of it like the two qualities that you want to cultivate One is, like we said, right action, and the other is non-resistance.
Is non-resistance the same as acceptance?
Yes. Accepting the now, non-resistance. Non-resistance is a very Eastern philosophical concept. And so, basically, right action combined with non-resistance. And that's a great way to get in state. Now look, beyond that, I'm going to teach you guys in the coming days, like hair trigger, fast ways to get in state that work really, really well. Like ways that you can literally just be like, boom, and within like 2 minutes, like 1 minute, you could just be saying like, oh, like that, and within like 2 minutes, you're going to be like, boom, in it, all right? And this is the kind of stuff that I've taught on boot camp for a long time, and it's absolutely incredible. And I'm going to teach that to you guys in the coming days. For now, why don't we just hold it in our heads? For now, we'll just hold in our minds that A, state is very liberating, and that B, when you're not in state, don't create resistance to it. Just take right action anyway, all right? In terms of being in state, training yourself to be in state is something that you can do in a lot of different ways. So one way, for example, is meditation. Has anyone here ever done meditation? Great. All right. Now, meditation can teach you things like non-resistance, feeling the inner body, just sitting in a room. However, it can be difficult at times to translate that out into the real world, right? In fact, let me tell you guys something funny. I like to talk about boot camp teaching style a lot because it can teach you guys how to teach yourselves. One thing that I noticed, because I've done countless experiments over the years, was that at one time we tried really pumping you up at the start of a boot camp, right? Pumping you up and get guys psyched out. But you know what was interesting? When they get out to the club, say you get out to the club and you're pumped up, you have what's called a state crash because you feel like your state is going down relative. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. I'm just saying it was something that we had on the boot camps. Now, likewise, when I kept the energy calm, then when we get to the club, it was more of a state going up. But regardless, something like meditation is great, and it can teach you what it means to be in the moment. But simultaneously, I believe that learning how to hold your own and hold your state in a more dynamic environment is a separate type of thing. Or maybe not a separate type of thing, but maybe a more dynamic type of thing. All right? So, again, learning how to hold your state in all sorts of dynamic environments is absolutely a life goal. Now look, we're going to talk next about what's called rules. So when we say rules, let's think about what it means first. We'll look at a more simple aspect, and then we'll relate it to state after. Think about happiness. Have you guys ever heard that a lot of people believe that people in, say, a more impoverished part of Latin America, many of those people are happier than people who live in, say, Orange County? You guys ever heard studies like that? Yeah. Okay. So why? Why is that?
Because people who live in the lap of luxury complain about everything. I mean,
sometimes, yeah.
You give them a survey, they're like, oh, this is wrong with my life, and this is wrong with my life, because they got too much fucking free time.
Too much free time? It leads to, and yeah, go ahead.
We have an unhealthy sense of entitlement.
Realistic.
Let me think about that one. That's an interesting one. An unhealthy sense of entitlement. Do I know anyone like that? That's a very interesting one. I like that. That'd be a great line. You have a very unhealthy sense of entitlement, sir. All right. Anyway,
it really pisses a girl off.
Yeah. So, like to a girl who's. Oh, that is funny. So you say that as a neg. You have an unhealthy sense of entitlement. That is funny. I don't know what would happen, non-field tested, but that is funny.
I'm calling her princess later.
Yeah, princess. So look, to me what it comes down to is this. It's the rules, right? Someone who lives in, say, a more impoverished part of South America may indeed have less rules about when they allow themselves to experience happiness. They say, look, when I go out dancing with my friends, that's the time to be happy. So they're extremely thrilled and excited and happy when they're just out dancing with their friends. Other people might have a different type of rule, right? They have a different kind of rule, like I need to have accomplished this with my job, and I need to have this going right and this going right, and otherwise I'm pissed off. So they almost have this really thin little margin It's like I can be happy whenever I'm in my sweet spot, then I can feel happy. But whenever the rest of my life occurs, all this stuff, nope, I cannot be happy. I'm going to be pissed off. That's why you see a lot of people that get pissed off. That's what rules are, right? Some people's rules to feel happy is I'm alive. I have my family around me. I am dancing, whatever it is. Other people have a complex and elaborate set of rules, only feel happy when they're up here. Of course, this can lead to all sorts of debates, like, well, yeah, I have a very thin criteria for happiness, but that forces me to take action, right? If I didn't have that, I would never do anything. I'd just be some dumbass sitting around. And you know what? There's a level of validity to that. But I think that you can also evolve to a higher level where you can take, as we said, right action and still keep moving yourself towards the conditions of your life that you want, simultaneously not beating yourself up when you're not there unnecessarily. Especially when you really think in the context of how short life is. To blow years of your life just feeling pissed off, that is a waste. Now look, the next thing that we're going to say is what your mind needs to let you be your best self. All right? What does your mind need to view yourself as like a worthwhile guy? So what we call this is your identity criterion. We could also call it your entitlement criterion, and we'll run through it very quickly. Essentially, your identity criterion is where your mind looks to reference how much value you have. In other words, the rules that you have to decide whether or not you're allowed to go into state. Now, like a thermometer, it will go up or down depending on your criterion. Think about this, guys. Stop and think about this. Everyone has that thermometer. So if you've got that thermometer of when you allow yourself to be in state, what are the things that are affecting it? Think of it like this. The thermometer that you use to decide whether or not you go into state is actually programmable. You can program that thermometer. Like you can say, I want my thermometer to go up when I put it in water, or I want my thermometer to go up when I put it in dirt or something like that. But instead we'll apply it to like a social context. All right? So some examples are, when we think of people's rules, some of them would be like how they're dressed. You guys know what I mean? You guys ever notice when you're dressed really well, maybe you feel really good? That's because society has programmed you to have a good thermometer, like, clothes, that's being programmed in your thermometer, all right? Think of it this way. One thing that I did, or that I noticed in myself, one quality that I noticed in myself, was that when I was dressed really well, I would do awesome with women because I felt good, but when I was dressed like crap, I wouldn't even approach. Because I'd see the girl I want to talk to, and I'd go, I'd do it later. Right? No, I'm just not dressed good right now. I'm not going to do it. I don't look presentable. I'm not going to do it. What I later did, I had a couple experiences. One was when I had a giant mustard stain across my face. This big gloob of mustard that got there somehow. Who knows how? And I went out, had an amazing night. Awesome. Went home and found this gloob of mustard, asked my friend, he goes, it has been there all night. Okay? Right? Another time I had a giant zit. Huge, when you get one of those ingrown hairs over your lip that looks like a cold sore? Oh, yeah. And it can actually get even more grotesque than a cold sore, right? The thing is, I had a big ingrown hair. And guess what? Didn't know I had it. Went out, had a kick-ass night, found out when I got home, asked my buddy, yeah, that's being there, it's nasty. All right? So again, okay? It's a rule. Because I didn't know that I wasn't meeting my own rules, I did okay. Incidentally, you want to hear a really nasty story? Sure. I had a girl once that I had moved forward to a restaurant, and I had one of those ingrown hairs, and she fucking picked it off, right, and it bled because she didn't like it, right? Anyway, it's because she had decided that things were going to be moving forward, and she didn't like it. So there's a little scar there right now, which is a nice little memory of that interesting night. Now, okay, so look. Which is a bizarre night in many ways, let me tell you. But, all right, so anyway, essentially, these are your rules. So going through them in a more formal level, I have different types of rules that I like to talk about. And you guys might have heard me cover this briefly in Foundations. So one of them is like superficial standards. That's like when you've met the typically unrealistic standards of society, which could include looking good, having a high-status job, making money, or owning nice things. You have that, and you're kind of like, your state thermometer, right? Or your nimbus meter. I just made that up now. How fucking creative is that? Your nimbusometer. That's like gonna be like the new popular jargon on the forums now, right? The nimbusometer. Is my like the newbie like is my nimbusometer good? All right. So look, we've all been there. So look, essentially, your state thermometer. It's like you've got the job, you've got the money, the house, whatever it is, so you feel good. All right, and the state goes up. Likewise. The next one I talk about is alliances, which again is my nerd term for friendships and relationships. We call that alliances, which essentially means like when you feel guaranteed acceptance because of the people around you. That can include having attention from girls, high-status friends, or having a girlfriend around, having people that being nice to you in your environment. We'll cover these in more depth in a second. Next, competencies. When you have anything that makes people want something from you. Having access to something exclusive, having knowledge or expertise that people want, having entertaining jokes that can engage people for a period of time. Next up, role plays. Like when the circumstances in your life call on you to assume a role. Maybe being in a respected or professional role, being a teacher in a teacher-student situation, being surrounded by people of lesser status and fulfilling the role by default. So let's look at some of these criterions. Now, of course, everyone's criterion is different. Someone from South America probably has a very different set of criterions than someone from here. Some bushman out in a tribe maybe thinks how many bones he has in his nose makes him cool and wouldn't respond to that here. So really think about that. All right, now look. Okay, the clothing example. Great example. So think back a couple years ago. Why don't we say 3 to 4 years to be exact? Think of a day when you got a great new set of clothes. New hair, say you got a new haircut the same day, and you're walking through the mall, and you know that feeling when you're walking through the mall with your brand new, fresh pressed shirt and your brand new haircut, and the girls are checking you out. Everyone had that experience? Yeah. Everyone's had it. Every guy could recognize that experience. And what did you say in your head? Damn, this is a tight shirt. This is a great shirt. It's really working for me. This is a great haircut. It's really working for me. I really notice that women just respond better when I'm dressed nice. I just really noticed that, right? Some guys will say, I really noticed that when I hit a certain body fat percentage, it's just that sweet spot where women just start to respond better when I hit that certain body fat percentage. It's like, yo, do you really think that most people know the difference between you at 16% body fat and 13% body fat? Do you really think that? They don't, but you know it. And so the little communications that you have are different. Now, what happens with most guys? They wear the shirt for a little while. They feel good. Women respond to it. After a while, they don't really care about it anymore. And what do they say?
I like your shirt.
Yes, this shirt doesn't work anymore, right? This shirt doesn't have the mojo powers that it once had. Therefore, I will now go and engage in more consumerism and purchase a new shirt. So, think of it even this way. Yeah. If you were to wear the clothes, going back again 3 to 4 years ago, think back to the clothes that you wore 3 or 4 years ago. They may well be as fashionable now as they were then, or maybe they wouldn't, depending on what you're wearing. But let's say that they were. If you were to wear, I want you to picture it, wear those exact same clothes right now, how would you feel? Maybe some of you guys have a similar way of dressing as a couple years ago, but surely there's many of you in this audience who are like, no, that shirt definitely wouldn't work if I wore that now. Why? Because your own sense of style has changed. Your own rules about, when you feel good and what types of clothes you'd be wearing have changed. And so therefore it would no longer work. One thing that I really started doing when I was really working on this stuff, like hardcore, making big strides, was even going out not dressed nice. And in fact, I made certain rules, like I would still approach girls. Like when I was learning how to get my approaches down, that I would still talk to girls, even if my whole setup was not good at all. For example, say I was coming back from the shopping mall, and I have shopping bags on me, and say I'm walking by the club, I remember the first time I did it was in Sydney, and I was walking through some Irish pub area or something like that. And I had my shopping bags on me, and I was dressed like crap. And I just walked into the club, and I did approaches and met girls and got phone numbers, dressed like crap with a bunch of shopping bags in a nightclub. Okay? Looking totally stupid. Right? And still had a good night. I didn't let it get to me. I remember another time I was out in Richmond, and out in near London, and again, down by the Thames River, just out there, dressed like crap, and approached a girl dressed to the nines. And pulled it off. All right? And I said, wow, look at this. It doesn't matter. So, look, I'm not saying that you shouldn't dress well, but hey, maybe you want to consider not dressing as well as you normally dress and just try going out and seeing what happens. And that way, you're not dependent on it. I'm not telling you not to be presentable. I would think that's so funny to think like that. But the point is that you should never rely on your clothing. All right? Some people use clothing as like a shelter. Has anyone here ever had a girlfriend who was like really infatuated with you, and then she wouldn't dress bad in front of you at the start of the relationship? Like she had to wear makeup like in the daytime and stuff, like whatever, like stuff like that, right? And it's like, again, she has that attachment that's there, all right? Or you know how some girls will not go out to the club unless they've got their hair done, that kind of thing? They will not go. To me, that's the same kind of a thing. And it's fine, I think it's cute. I think it's adorable. I think it's totally adorable. But the point is that me as a man, I'm looking to move past that, all right? I'm not looking to have that be a hindrance. How you guys doing? Good. Good morning. You want to know something? What? I forgot something yesterday. I forgot something. I had one of those Homeric dough moments. All right? That's kind of a silly joke. Now look, I was thinking yesterday about the state issue. And you guys remember when I said pause. Now listen, there's certain issues when we think about state and when we understand what state is, and if we focus on it too much, that can cause us not to go into state. Do you guys remember that? Yeah. Okay, good. So if you guys remember, what I said was, first of all, don't resist it, right? Don't create additional resistance. And second of all, I said to take right action. Okay, just make the choice to move through. Well, here's the part that I forgot. Okay? And I remember I was sitting there and I was like, there's something else I'm going to tell you in a bit. And let me just think of it. And I couldn't remember what it was. I don't like to read off of PowerPoint so much, as you guys notice, so occasionally that will happen. All right, now look. Here's the sort of realization that I had. And once I had this realization, between this and some other stuff I'm going to show you guys later today, state became a lot easier for me. All right, now here it is. Your mind, generally speaking, like we said, may try to block you from the nimbus. Right? It may block you from that. It may block you from going in state. So how do we get out of that? All right? How do we shock our way out of that? Well, I want you guys to think about it. We talked about imprints. You guys remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. All right. By the way, when you guys were out last night, could you sort of notice yourself accessing different imprints and sort of seeing how your behavior maybe change in subtle or obvious ways?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Now look. When you're trying to access the part of your mind that you want, and your mind is blocking you from doing so, this is kind of how I see it. Principle number one, you are not your mind. All right? Your mind is like the sum of all the different autopilot responses that you have, social conditioning that you have, memory, labels, interpretations, that kind of stuff. So look, you have the ability to kind of say, to take over, all right? Not to let your mind drag you around like you're in like a wild river or something like that. You can be the one that takes control. Now, imagine it's like this. In your mind, you have the instruction manual for how to be a pimp. Okay? The manual is there. Okay? That's called your imprint. You got the manual. Why don't we imagine that that's a lot like a manual for flying an airplane? So let's say that you get into an airplane. You've got your buddy right here, your best friend, because your mind is your best friend, but your best friend can be annoying sometimes. So you're sitting there and you're flying, and you say, look, we're going to go fly this plane. He says, dude, we are not flying that plane. That's just going to get us in trouble. You say, no, we're flying the plane. He says, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to get in trouble. You say, look, we're flying this plane. Okay, so you drag him into the plane, which is kind of like you dragging yourself into the nightclub. Okay? You drag him in the plane, and you start the plane. He's going, dude, do not do this. I'm not going to let you do this. Okay, and you say, we're doing it. All right, now he's got the instruction manual in his hand. Okay, now think about this. He's got the instruction manual in his hand. And he says, I'm not giving you the instruction manual. Why aren't you going to give me the instruction manual? I'm not going to be able to fly this plane if you don't give me the instruction manual. He He says, dude, because if I give you the instruction manual, you're going to go and you're going to fly. So I'm not giving it to you. So see, that's when you've got to kind of show your best friend that you're not screwing around. This is happening anyway. That's what it comes down to. So you can imagine it. It's like you're in the plane, you're taking off, and you pull it and you go, start driving forward. How about now, man? You going to give me that manual? Okay. No, dude, I'm not giving you the manual. Okay, how about now? We're in a little acceleration. Come on, dude. We both know we're doing this. Just give me the manual. Okay? No, I'm not giving you the manual. You start to take off. You're in the air. You're like, dude, we're done unless you give me that manual. Because this is happening. We're in the air. I'll give you the manual. I'll give you the manual. And he gives you the manual. Okay? And then you go, boom, let's go. All right? If only flying was so simple. Okay? But really, meeting women is. And look, essentially what's happening here is you know how to talk. You know how to be confident. All those little mannerisms, you have picked those up. You might have picked them up consciously, like through your study of social dynamics, or you might have picked them up, or I can guarantee you've picked them up if you have any social acuity, even a minor amount. You don't think that you do, don't worry. You have picked them up unconsciously, all right? So in the same way that you might feel someone's status, that's because your unconscious mind knows what status looks like. And when you recognize yourself as being in that role, you guys remember the totem pole from yesterday? When you recognize that you're in that role, it will give you access. So think of it like a math problem when you're a kid. Or say even in high school if you're a mathematician now. I remember when I was in grade 10, which is about how far I'm headed in math, I would always have a hard time with that first question. That was always the toughest one. And I would procrastinate it, and I would procrastinate it. And finally, when I would sit down, that first math question would take me maybe 5-6 minutes, even if it was a small one. But then the second one would take 2 minutes. And then the third one, it was just like 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds. All right? And that's because you have accessed that math part of your brain. In a lot of ways, it's really no different. All right? See, once you go past approach anxiety, all right, once you're past that, you may not have approach anxiety in the sense that you're like, oh, I'm afraid to approach this girl or stuff like that. But you might still get those kind of moods. Look, say that you're sitting with your buddies. You're sitting there at a bar or at a restaurant having a good time. And there's some girls over there you want to go and talk to. Well, obviously, if say you're having a very logical conversation with your friends, your mind might not have accessed that part, that part of your mind yet that would make you most successful with women. So the thing is, you've got to kind of snap yourself out of it. That's really what it comes down to. It's no different than when you're sitting there watching television and your mind goes, no, I am resting, leave me alone. And you don't want to get up and do that first math problem. So it's just like flying the plane. You have to snap yourself into it. This is how I see it. Let me put it to you this way. The philosophy I'm talking about right now is how I approach virtually everything in my life. Because say that I'm going to come up here and do a seminar this morning. Look, if I wake up after a couple hours sleep, I can assure you, okay, believe it or not, okay, really, I'm not like, I'm in the mood to go talk for another 7 hours. Okay? I know what I'll do. I'll go up in front of all these cameras, and I'll go talk for 7 hours. That sounds like a great idea. All right? I don't wake up out of my bed in the morning, even though people probably would imagine this of me. Wake up out of my bed in the morning, I'm like, hey guys, how you doing? All right, welcome to RSD. Oh wait, that's my alarm clock. Oh, okay. That's not the mode, right? But regardless, I know that, let me tell you something I know about myself. Because I know that I have done it before and I can do it again, even as I walk down this path, right? I come down the elevator, I'm just doing my voice exercise to warm my voice up while the hotel people look at me like I'm strange. And walk down here, get up front, I'm ready to go, all right? I don't even need to think about it. Well, that's very much how I do approaches, all right? I might experience the same kind of thing that you guys experience, but the thing is, I'm like, okay, there's girls over there. I can't think of anything to say right now. Nothing's coming up. Well, I guess that's going to be awkward. Let's go, right? Okay? And then I go, all right? Okay? And that's it. And I'll go. And even if I can't, I'm like, hey, right? What's going on, right? And the girl's like, and I'm like, anyway, right? And I'll do that. I'm a lot more likely to do that than do what I used to do, like, a couple of years ago, back in the day, like what most newer guys do, which is like, oh man, how am I going to do this? I don't want to do it. All right, okay, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm not really like that so much, all right? I trust myself, okay? And I want you guys to trust yourselves. Just force that snap, all right? Look, sometimes even, I've been running the boot camps for over half a decade now, but I remember my first couple years of running the live boot camps, it was the same sort of thing, right? Like, I might be teaching seminar. It's kind of funny, because when you teach seminar all day, you're kind of in a logical headspace, and then you get out there, sometimes what would happen is I just wasn't feeling the vibe. And I would approach the first group of girls, and I'd have a really rough time. And what do you think I do? See, let me show you what I would do versus what most guys would do. Most guys are like, they go talk to that first girl, she blows him off, he's like, oh man. And then he goes back, with his buddies, oh man, yeah, right? Kind of like procrastinating doing the next one. That's not how I always did it. Okay, that's not how I train myself, because I don't have the luxury of doing that. So I'm just kind of like, it's kind of like, ugh. Hey, hey, ooh, she doesn't like me either. Oh, hey, right? Okay, until something snaps. Okay, that's how I do it. You don't want to sit there procrastinating and letting yourself get stuck in your head. All I'm really trying to do, if I'm very in my head that day, which I've actually managed, just to give you guys some hope here, I've managed to kind of like move past that. But let's say that I'm having just an unusually rough day and I'm stuck in my head. I'm not likely to just sit there hoping for things to happen, all right? I'm going to go boom, boom, boom until something clicks, until my mind goes, okay, here's the manual. Damn, this guy's obnoxious, right? That's the thing, okay? You want to be like that obnoxious guy, all right, to your mind, okay? Like when your mind won't give you what you're looking for, it should be like, give it to me, right? Got it, all right, okay? That's what it's like. But most guys are like, come on, man. Come on, dude, please. Just give me the manual, man. Come on, dude. Right? No. Give me the manual, okay? Give it to me. All right, okay? That's how you want to be, all right, with your mind. And that's how I'm like. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, you're going to pay for it, okay? Let's go, all right? That's how it's got to be when you start off. You're starting to approach women. Don't let yourself start feeling bad. Don't start running down that path like, oh, this isn't working, man. Oh, man, I took the See, that's even the thing. Like, if you've taken a seminar on this, you watched a seminar on this, right? That's only creating that much more resistance and self-pity when you can't do it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, oh, these other guys are doing it. I've taken a 4-day course on it. I can't even do it. So see, if anything, that's going to create more resistance. So look, don't allow resistance even to occur. That's the bottom line, all right? Cold pool, cold ocean. How do you go in? You jump in. You ever go swimming in the ocean and you see those dudes that are putting their tippy toes in? They're trying to tippy toe it, right? You know that, and then you kind of like wade in and they're like, ooh, right? And then like you get up to your waist point, like right where your belly button is, you're like, this is too cold, okay? Is that how you go in the ocean?
Nope. No.
Hell no, right? You just go in, okay? That's how it's done. And look, inevitably, you guys will go out and you will mess it up. And I mess it up every so often as well. But you want to know something? That's okay, because when you mess up, you just take it as a reminder of why you do things the way that you do. All right? Anytime that you screw something up, just take it as a reminder. Now look. Let's get back onto conflicting reality. And I want to start off by telling you guys a story. I want to tell you guys a story. So I'm out with my friend on Melrose, and we meet these 3 girls. Okay? This is kind of a bizarre story. It's from my early 20s, kind of like a silly frat type story. So we meet these 3 girls. Exchanged phone numbers. I just forgot about it. The next morning, they call me up. They say they want to come and hang out. All right? They're from San Diego. We're living in Los Angeles. I said, all right, you can come over. It was 3 girls. Nice guy that I am, I know another girl that I want to see, so I wind up calling over a 4th girl, all right? And the 3 girls are with my friends. What happened, however, was that the girl who initially took my number, she kept trying to talk to me and stuff like that, but because I tossed her over to my friend, her and my friend wound up hooking up. So that was like a really fun night. All 4 of us had a really great night. Fun for all involved. 2 weeks later, they come back. And apparently this girl has now got it in her head that now that she's hooked up with that guy, she's going to like run through the whole squad or something, and like I'm like the next one on the list. So we go out to a club, and she's talking to me, and I will not give her any attention because she's with my friend, and I will not do that under any circumstances. All right? So, I mean, I'll talk to her, but the point is I'm not going to, like, flirt back. So, look, we go back to the house, and she's being all weird, all right? She's acting totally uncool to my friend, who honestly being completely cool. And I don't like this one little bit, okay? It's really making me mad. I get very sensitive when my friends get messed with I'm more sensitive when my friends get bothered than even when I get bothered. So I just looked at the situation. I said, I don't like this. I said, you're all gone. You're all out of here. Get out. We're going, okay? So, boom, you're out. We walk down the hill. We go to Mel's Diner. Walk down to Mel's Diner. I take my buddy. I say, we're grabbing some new girls. Sit them down. Walk up to two exotic dancer girls, take their phone number, but that wasn't going anywhere. Walk up to these two other blonde girls, make out, pull them upstairs. As we walk upstairs, I wave to the girl that were mean to my friend and walk upstairs, okay? Because I was angry. I was just super, super duper pissed. Very immature. I'm not going to tell you that you guys should do that. I'm just saying what I was like in my early 20s. I was a maniac. So, go upstairs. Anyway, a couple months down the line, the same girls call me up, and they apologize profusely, all right? They apologize and apologize and apologize. I say, all right, look, maybe you can come over, meet me down at the restaurant, and we'll talk, and I'll decide if you guys can come back over again. We'll think about it. So they come over, and they're sitting there, and we're talking, and suddenly they kind of scurry out, all right? Isn't that kind of funny? Like, they scurry out, and I didn't think anything of it. So I get a phone call from outside, and she's like, oh, my friends need to get a tampon. Is there, where can I go? I say, okay, go up to the pink dot. They leave, right? So I'm sitting there in line. Now, it's funny. These are three, pretty attractive girls. This, like, heroin junkie, nasty, like, just rugged-looking dude comes up to me. And he's like, how do you know those girls? I didn't talk to him, right? I just, like that. I just kept talking to my friends. So then he says again, he's like, how do you know Christy? I'm like, how do you know Christy? Right? And he's like, is she trying to make me jealous? I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Right? And he's like, oh, you're the guy that lives with Courtney Love, aren't you? Right? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, man, you guys really did a number on them. They were mad at you. Right? And I'm like, what are you talking about? So he goes on to tell the story. Basically what he says, and here's what it comes down to, is that after we dropped them off, the girls came over, sat at these guys' table. He's a heroin dealer, okay? Brings them up to his apartment. There's two of them and three girls. They don't have anyone to hook up with the third girl. So this is what he says. He says, we called over the biggest nerd, the biggest loser you've ever seen. And he came over, and the third girl, she just pulled down her pants, and he just stuck it in. Okay? Holy shit, right? Like, what is this? Because this is my friend Todd's girl, right? I'm like, sorry, Todd. Dude, right? And, like, this is LA, right? This is classic Hollywood, just drama, okay? Nonsense. So then he says to me, and this is a lesson for you guys, he's like, none of you guys had sex with them, right? I'm like, excuse me? He's like, they said they were virgins. We didn't use condoms. All right? And I was like, oh my God, dude. Holy shit. These girls just had sex with no condom. Heroin dealers, right? They don't even know them. What is going on here, all right? I'm shocked, okay? Shocked. I'm just like, this is, like, I'm new to LA at this point, right? I've never seen this kind of thing. You veterans of LA, you're like, oh, yeah, whatever. That happened last week. Whatever, right? I could not believe it, okay? Because these were just three very nice, sweet girls. And look, that is what opened up my mind to the next thing that I'm going to talk to you guys about, all right? This shocking story, okay? So look, we talked about how people have their own sense of reality, okay? Everyone has a sense of reality. So what kind of reality would those girls might have? Do you remember we talked about it yesterday? Okay? Simultaneously weak and strong, and we'll get there. Simultaneously weak and strong. So, what are some concepts in the reality? I'm a hot girl, guys want me, guys chase me, I'm desired, that kind of thing. All right, we'll talk about what happens when that reality breaks down, okay? And what the heck happened in this bizarre situation. So look, the first thing we're going to talk about today, as we lead into that, is called masculine polarity. So think about this concept. Polarity. And what is that? What is it? How do guys try to get it? What do guys do when they lack it? What do you do when you lack it? All right. First off, women have a simultaneously strong and weak reality. Ain't that the truth? Okay, so on one level, take some of the bizarre anomalies we see out here in Los Angeles. Say that you have a girl who's a model. She's doing modeling. On one level, she knows she's hot. Agreed? Okay, she knows she's hot. But on another level, she's also taking criticism like, oh, you have a improperly placed nostril or something, you know, like some kind of nonsense, right? Your left toe, your left pinky toe has a freckle on it, right? And she's like, oh God, I'm so hideous, okay? Because she's competing with those other beautiful girls. We'll talk more about how this plays in the ego structure later. But look, girls tend to have both a very, very strong sense of reality in the sense that for a chode talking to them, they know very well who they are. But at the same time, that reality can also crumble very, very quickly when those kinds of thought patterns start to emerge in their minds. All right? So look, as a guy, when you're speaking to an attractive woman, it can seem like she's really centered, she's really strong in her own reality at first. As time goes on, you begin to realize that most people in general who haven't studied self-actualization, the majority of people that have never studied being centered, being self-actualized, most of them are not that centered. Do you want to know why that is? Because it is unconscious competence, and they don't know how they're doing it, right? They feel centered most of the time, but when they start to fall off their center, they don't recognize the behaviors, they don't know what's going on, so they just start to react. You see the same thing in like the quote-unquote popular cool guys, where like they can be really dominant, really alpha, but sometimes the people don't react to them in the way they expect. They take on the behaviors of a chode. And the reason why is because they don't have a conscious understanding of what's going on. They're just reacting. Okay? That's why it's great to study self-development, social dynamics, self-actualization. So we go back to polarity and the differences between guys and girls. Have you guys ever noticed that a lot of like the hottest girls in like the movie industry or models and stuff like that, they tend to date very eccentric boyfriends a lot of the time?
Sure.
Has ever seen that?
Sure.
Okay. Have you guys ever seen like, take a guy like who might not be considered in a classical sense good looking, take a guy like Jack Black, all right? Just to throw an example. Because isn't it funny how whenever we look at like the cool guys out there, we'll look at like, the George Clooney's or the Brad Pitt or something like that. Why don't we as a group start maybe looking at the quote-unquote not classically attractive guys who we still think could be really successful with women? So one guy, I think he's married or has a girlfriend because he just, he probably just loves life and he just loves his girl. But the point is that if you look at that guy, that's an example of a guy who you could really picture being out at a club and just being so self-amused, so in his own reality that he could spark a lot of attraction. Who knows if it totally crumbles in front of women? I have no idea. But you could picture that, all right? You could picture what that would be like. Take a guy like Chris Farley. You guys remember Chris Farley? R.I.P.?
Yeah.
Right? I would bet you, and I mean, who knows, but I would bet you that that's the kind of guy that could really get up in a girl's face and just be so silly and so ridiculous. And if a girl's really, really gorgeous, she has just never seen that before. A guy that could just get up there and just be so just funny and in his own reality. And that would be something that would be really attractive, all right? These are kind of, guys more on the comedian side. But I just wanted to get you guys thinking about that and what's involved in that. Why a lot of the time girls date eccentric boyfriends. So look. What are the differences in behaviors between guys and girls? Let's really think about this. Differences in behaviors. How does a girl show a strong polarity versus a guy showing a strong polarity? Right? When we say polarity, what we mean by that is like that draw, all right? That sort of draw of attention towards you. Polarity, that's like a magnet. You guys know a magnet? Magnet has polarity. So it's kind of like that attracting force, all right? Likewise, when as a guy, when you have a strong polarity, when a girl stands beside you, she's going to feel that energy coming off of you, all right? She's going to feel those emotions going on, and she'll probably rationalize that in a million different ways, or maybe she'll just know it's attraction, whatever it is. But she's going to feel that, even just standing next to you, she's going to feel that. Likewise, look, have you guys ever been standing beside a girl who, even if she wasn't the most physically attractive, like maybe she was not your perfect 10 in terms of looks, look, let's say she's straight up. Let's go hardcore here. Let's say she's a straight up, round, fatty.
Yeah.
Have you not in your entire life inexplicably found a fat girl attractive?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay? Right? I'm like, no, I haven't got you, right? No, like, look. Right? No, really. Like, let's be real here. Like, have you not ever been speaking with a girl who is not physically attractive at all, and you're just, like, kind of entranced?
Yeah.
You know? Right? And you don't know why. Okay?
Sure.
What's that?
Rubenesque.
Yeah, like, what does that mean, Rubenesque?
Big.
Big? Okay. Oh, she's so Rubenesque, right? All right. So look, likewise, have you ever been speaking with a girl who's like drop dead gorgeous, who every chode would probably drop to his knees to hook up with her, and you just feel nothing?
All the time.
Sure.
Nothing. Right? Can't feel a damn thing. You almost feel like you'd be cheapening yourself in a way, right? And so the thing is, isn't that kind of like a, you know, like a funny sort of thing? And by the way, when we talk about being naturally screening and naturally selective, I think a lot of guys, there's so much coming from the frame of, I've got to hook up with every hot girl that will have me. They're not very naturally screening. Whereas when you can get in touch with what really attracts you, with what your 10 is, in that case, you can be a lot more naturally screening. Now look, that's where polarity comes in. So let's talk a little bit more about that and what that means. All right. Have you guys ever heard of congruence tests?
Yeah.
Good. A congruence test. Most girls are not exactly looking to offer themselves to just any guy. They need a guy that's strong. He's at ease in his everyday interaction with the world, so they can trust him if the situation gets hectic, and they can just have a good time and can just experience good emotions when he's around. All right, so look, I want you guys to consider this. Women have the capacity to be both, you know, what you would consider stereotypically masculine, and they have the capacity to be what's stereotypically feminine.
Right.
All right? And different women have different needs and desires at different points of their lives. Take a girl like Hillary Clinton, for example. From what I've seen of her, which is very little, truth be told, so I can't really judge, but from what I've seen, she doesn't seem like the kind of girl that wants to be on, like, you know, the next Girls Gone Wild video. Right? Okay, Girls Gone Wild with Hillary. All right? Girls Gone Wild Washington.
Oh, God, scary
Okay?
thought.
Scary, all right? Okay? All right, be nice. You could be our future president. So, okay. So, look, you know, you don't really picture her, like, up on the stage, fucking busting a move, right? You know? It's hard to kind of, you know, picture her with her girlfriends, you know, doing tequila off each other's tits or something like that. All right? Okay? It's kind of, okay, like tomatoes thrown at me. All right? Look, you know, it's kind of hard to picture that. All right? It's because she has, you know, she's more in that stereotypically masculine kind of vibe. But generally speaking, even a girl, so bad, dude. Okay, even a girl, right, who, you know, who has that side, in a lot of ways, she may want to experience that more feminine side. All right? And a woman cannot really be free to experience that when the guy has no strength to him. All right? When the guy doesn't look like he's at ease with the world, if she doesn't feel like if things get hectic, if she can rely on you, then obviously she's going to have to, you know, be more like Hillary around you. She cannot feel at ease. So again, when we think about a congruence test, she's going to do little things to mess with you. And congruence tests can be really obvious, as in when you're first starting to get good at this stuff, you get very obvious ones, but they can also be subtle. And I kind of want to focus on the more subtle ones today, because I find that's kind of the stuff I find more interesting. Now, as far as the more obvious ones, look, when a girl is giving a congruence test, she's doing two things. Number one, she wants to feel the strength of your reality. She wants to feel that off you. Have any of you guys ever had a girlfriend that was just like addicted to testing you?
Oh, yeah.
Anyone ever had that? And she just cannot get enough of it, right? Because it's like a turn on for her to see how you're not going to react to her nonsense. It's like she loves it, okay? It can actually be, that's kind of the downside of this is like, you know, once you reach a level where like you just want some like peace and enjoyment with your girlfriend and she's like addicted to seeing you like just like, come on, no, right? And she's like, oh God, right? She loves it. Then of course, you know, sometimes it just can kind of mess with your vibe of trying to relax sometimes. But whatever, it is what it is, right?
In teaching, I saw that all the time. They love congruence testing me.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like all they wanted to do.
That's all they want to do? Yeah, those rascal kids. All right. So likewise, they want to feel the strength of your reality, and they want to see that you're capable of asserting yourself as a man. So some of the things that these girls will do is prodding you to justify yourself, saying insecure things, saying obnoxious things to make you jealous or to make you insecure. Like maybe you're out with a girl on a date and she tells you she has a boyfriend just to mess with you. Being cranky or throwing tantrums to see if you'll be dragged into it. Calling you out on your worst features to see if you're insecure about them. Trying to get you to qualify yourself to her so that she can have the selector role. Like, no, you're not the selector, I'm the selector. Qualify yourself to me. She might want to see if you'll do it. And likewise, accusing you of things, you know, accusing you of being a jerk, accusing you of needing her approval, accusing you of not living up to her standards. Now, look, those are the more obvious ones, okay? Those are obviously very, very blatant, okay? But for the most part, you guys remember we spoke yesterday? Here is your perceptual input, and that's what the congruence test looks like. It doesn't fit, all right? You don't even see it. You just blow it off playfully. Okay? Playfully blow it off. Don't let it mess with your flow. Now, let's think, what is a more subtle congruence test? Like on a more subtle level, where does this come in? She's wanting to see the strength of your reality.
You need a decision. She might like,
oh, yeah.
You might be making a decision and she's like, you know, what about if we do this? And you're you know, it's a little flicker of like, oh, what,
sure.
You're fucked.
Yeah, I mean, and especially like more in a relationship. Yeah. And look, can you guys see how a newbie might confuse this? Because maybe a girl's just like in a relationship is just giving some input of what she wants. And he's like, I can't let her control me, right? And then of course it looks like he's reacting in and of itself. Do you guys see that? Because if you're trying to control just to make her like you, what's happening there?
Supplication.
It's supplication, right? It's advanced supplication. When you're acting indifferent to make her like you, what is that called? It's called advanced supplication. Think of that as a new term for you, okay? You guys know what supplication is, right? Advanced supplication. That's when you're like trying to do things that you don't even really feel just to make her like you because you heard them from a pickup seminar. You know what I'm saying? That is advanced supplication. At the same time, sometimes you have to do advanced supplication just to learn how to do it, all right? There is a learning curve, all right? Typically, you have to start acting indifferent before you actually become indifferent, most of the time. Sometimes you can learn it through inner work as well. Whatever path you take to get, who cares? When you're speaking with a girl, a more subtle kind of congruence test, which is not even a test on her part, by the way, not even really a test, is like who's controlling the rhythm of the conversation. We spoke about this yesterday. So a lot of the time when you're speaking with a girl, in the same way that some girls will give like a really big congruence test, like a really obvious one, and then she feels attracted because of that, other times, you can just be speaking with the girl and she just quickly changes the rhythm of her conversation to match yours. And immediately, that's giving the same effect as what a congruence test would be. By the way, have you guys ever heard of the concept of mirroring? Mirroring and matching? What is the issue? Okay, maybe as an NLP concept or a rapport concept, that's fine. But in terms of being attractive to women, what is the fundamental problem with mirroring and matching?
At some point, you lose the lead.
Like immediately, right? Yeah, you do, dude. Think about it. If you're sitting here and I'm trying to match you, I'm like, who's leading now?
Right, yeah. You don't know.
Okay, immediately. You're immediately leading, right?
Yeah.
The whole point of this is the problem with White Ivory Tower's study of attraction. Take your White Ivory Tower nerd doing his PhD or master's degree, right? He's like, I'm going to do this on attraction. So he goes out to the bar with his notepad, all right? And he's he's watching the couples doing empirical study instead of just actually having some balls and stepping up and doing it himself, right? So he's watching this. And he's like, it appears that the couples who really like each other will start to mirror each other. They mirror each other's movements, right? Therefore, when we do our next Discovery Channel documentary, we will put into our documentary, you must mirror the other person. Okay? You guys also see this stuff about how they're like, oh, you have to have like a symmetrical face and all that kind of stuff, right? And you're like, I don't look like that, right? Oh, okay? It's like, gee, thanks, right? Thanks for limiting beliefs, Discovery Channel, all right? But the thing is, or like the pheromones, I don't have the right pheromones, all right? It's nonsense, okay? But the thing is, no, you want to be leading, all right? You want to be leading, and then she will mirror you a lot of time. And if she doesn't, she doesn't. What difference does it make? But the point is, don't worry about mirroring anybody. All right, now look, with congruence tests, the woman wants to feel that you are rooted in your own reality. She wants to feel that you're centered, all right? And that is creating a lot of polarity right there. That's creating a lot of the draw. This is something that occurs just in the general interactions, all right? The key distinction, are you dictating the energy or are you being affected by it, okay? Repeat after me. Man, when I'm done. Man, action.
Man, action.
Girl, reaction.
Girl, reaction.
All right? Consider this, okay? What are most guys doing, though, around an attractive woman?
Reacting.
Right? I don't know. I just don't know why I can't be successful with women. I try to react to everything on time and do these right moves, okay? Reacting. Now, look. Stay positive, stay upbeat, and act through your own intentions. Tap into something inside of yourself for your mood. All right, now look. Say that you're speaking with the girl. She breaks the rhythm of the conversation a little bit, and you hold it without realizing it. Boom. We get attraction. All right, now look. When we talk about acting through your own intentions, what does that mean? Is that not one of the toughest concepts you could ever think about? Acting through your own intentions. Because what is acting through your own intentions? All right.
Having clarity.
Sure, clarity. Look, think of it.
Right action.
What's that? Right action. What's that?
Being proactive.
Being proactive.
Not looking towards her, just following whatever you got in here, and just There's nothing thinking, watching it, anything, just doing it. And that's what saw people flow in that.
Yeah, like you're doing what you want to do instead of what you think she wants.
Yeah.
That's the masculine polarity.
Huge.
Yes.
Action, reaction. All right? Sure. Now, when you come to the Real Social Dynamics seminar, you come here and you hear from your Real Social Dynamics seminar, act through your own intentions. And so you go, okay, I came to this seminar to learn how to attract women. To make women like me, I should act through my own intentions. So you walk up to the girl and you go, man, I want her to like me. I'm really going to act through my own intentions so that she'll like me. Okay? I'm really going to act through my own intentions because that crazy mofo Tyler said it's cool. Is that acting through your own intentions? No. All right. How about this? How about the guy who takes the girl out for months and months of like expensive dates at like L'Orangerie or like $100 restaurants because he's brought up to be a gentleman because of his social programming? Is he acting through his own intentions?
No.
Right? He thinks he is, right? How about a guy who's being needy? He just feels that it's like, I just can't wait another minute without calling her because I need her so bad. And Tyler said to act through my own intentions, and I want to call. Is that acting through your own intentions?
No.
All right.
You can't do it.
The feminine can't trust it.
Exactly. Did you have a question back there, by the way? No? You just like to rest your arm up like that? I do that too. That's all good. All right. So look. Programming. No. Okay? You heard it from RSD. As much as I'd love to say so. No. All right? That's not acting through your own intentions, okay? Neediness. Lack. No. That is not acting through your own intentions. Look, acting through your own intentions is something that you come to over years and years and years, isn't it? It is like peeling back the layers of programming, of other people's nonsense that they've put into your head to get to your core. So every year of your life that goes by, you will become better at acting through your own intentions if you have that as a marker that you're shooting towards. All right? That's really what it is. So at first, okay, here's a great example. You want to know just a classic example of this. I think it's absolutely great. Who here has ever been talking to a girl? And by the way, I'm preparing to now screw up countless newbies who will try this and look like big dorks. Who's ever been talking to a girl? She's got a drink, right? Like say that that's your drink. Talking to a drink, and he just goes, thanks. Like that. Anyone ever tried that? Yeah? What happens?
She like kind of looks at you, and like for a minute, she's like trying to see if like I guess you're congruent with it.
Yeah. Were you congruent? Were you congruent?
Yeah.
And what happened?
She just accepted it. Like
Yeah.
she took the drink, she smiled, and she was like.
Was she more attracted or less attracted?
It was like,
Neutral? All right, well, that example didn't help me. Now look. Okay. All right, so look. Have you ever tried it? If this didn't help me, I don't want to hear it.
Last night, I was at the Saddle Ranch.
Yeah.
Music was on. No one was dancing. I was with the girl. I decided I liked the song. We started dancing.
Awesome. Great. You're leading. Awesome. Okay. Anyone in here ever tried the drink thing?
Yeah.
You've tried it?
Yeah.
What happens when you do it?
Get more attractive.
More attractive.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, see? I'm right. Okay, now look. Okay? So, look, yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Like you go, like, you'll learn this, okay? Most newbies will try this at some point. It's like, it's one of those weird things that when you're a newbie, you're like, you really hit the zone, right? Like, you hit your stride, and then, like, it suddenly just occurs to you to, like, take the drink and try it. Like, it's like, I probably tried this, like, my third night I ever went out when I got in state, all right? Without even knowing that I was doing it. And then the girl gets really attracted. So then your brain goes, this is awesome, right? It's my drink move. You know what I'm saying? Like my drink move, right? So later, as a newbie, you're talking to the girl, and you see attraction is going down because you're being a chode, right? And you go, how can I make her like me? And you're like, ding, right? And you're like, and she's like, what the fuck are you doing? That's my drink. Buy me a new drink. It worked, man. It worked last time, right? Okay. So see, that's like these funny little anomalies when you're trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. Or if you're getting pickup advice, look, isn't pickup advice a funny thing? Isn't it? Mm-hmm. Because when you're learning, when guys are giving you their advice on how to be successful with women, they at some point tried something and it worked. Right. And they liked it. So then they write about it, and they're trying to help you. You know, they're trying to do their very best to help you because it's worked for them and they're giving you their best advice. But really, it worked for them because they're acting through their own intentions. Another guy who's not acting through his own intentions goes out and tries it, it doesn't work. Now, at the same time, though, look, sometimes you can read stuff out of a book and you kind of connect with it. You're like, that's funny. Like, I like that, okay? And then maybe it can be a part of your repertoire. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a black and white type thing, but I'm just trying to explain why sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
I was just saying, you have to be able to own everything you do. If you don't own it, then it sucks.
Yep. You guys hear what he said? Mm-hmm. Own everything you do. If you don't own it, it sucks. So.
It's also state and situationally dependent.
What's that?
State and situation dependent.
Yeah, the whole science behind learning to be good with women, the guy's in state, he goes and he tries this line, and it's amazing, right? And then it works. This is why at RSD we do these nonsense openers. Like, you know another nonsense opener that we do? All right? Papa hates it when I teach these, by the way. He's like, you shouldn't be teaching this to clients. It's so stupid, right? And I don't blame him because it could be missing. This is the type of thing that like writers will write about. They're like, this is their opener. Look at how stupid it is, right? Because they're not looking at the context. But one opener that I've used, I go, hey, what do you like better, chicken or fish? Chicken. Really?
Yes.
I'm a red meat man myself. What? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Actually, the opener is called the Do You Like Chicken opener. Hey, you like chicken?
I'm vegetarian.
What do you like better? Carrots or avocados?
Avocados.
Really? I like strawberries. Let's try. Okay? All right? Okay? Just nonsense. All right? See? He's feeling it. Can you feel the mojo?
Yes.
Okay. Okay? I'll see you later, baby. Okay?
I'm in love.
Yeah. All right. Okay? So look, that's the thing is like just nonsense. All right? One of the reasons why we teach nonsense is because we're trying. It's not because it's like nonsense is necessarily the best. Although sometimes nonsense has a kind of a benefit that it shows you're not trying. But look, what I really like to do is really show guys that you can open with anything. That's like kind of a big epiphany on boot camp that you can open with anything. All right. Now, going along the little path here with polarity. got to be unreactive. I've got to act through my own intentions. I've got to be unreactive. I can't react. 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 Is that a good way to think?
No.
Hell no, right? Sure, negative affirmation. A very bizarre thought loop to be in. So, you remember I said yesterday the concept of have fun? Like whenever there's too many concepts going on in your mind, just like on one level we can have like the nerd speak when we're sitting in a room with no girls, a big group of guys. But on another level we can sort of, shrink that back. We can contract all of our information and summarize it in one sentence, have fun. But you want to know the other one that I really like? Be authentic. All right? Just be authentic. Rather than saying, I've got to pass the congruence test and stuff like that, just say, be authentic. All right? Be the person you're meant to be. Whatever you want to call it. Be authentic. Now, this is a section that I really enjoy teaching. Because once you understand it, it'll give you a lot of laughs when you're out at the nightclub. Chaos versus grounding. Have you guys ever heard the expression to be a grounding energy, a source of grounding energy? All right? It's a great expression, being a source of grounding energy. Now, a man and a woman each have different sides when we think about polarity, all right? Each of them have different sides. And when we think about feminine polarity and masculine polarity and how they interact with each other, why don't we look at some of the ways that women unconsciously, and here's what's interesting, is that this is unconscious, will assert that polarity. And before I say that, I want to ask a question. Have you guys ever, I know in my case, growing up, sometimes people would act in ways that I didn't really understand. Did you guys ever experience that? Not just in terms of like some guy that's crazy or like some kid that eats cardboard or crayons or something, right? Or glue, right? But I'm talking like just people that like they act in ways where it's kind of like. Do you guys ever remember maybe you like talk to somebody and they don't answer your questions? Like not even deliberately. Like, it's almost like they don't hear you or something like that. Or have you ever looked at female behavior and like how a girl can be really into you when you're talking, say, at like a restaurant or club or something, and then the conversation breaks apart and she makes no effort to restart the conversation? Like you would think that because she's really enjoying it. I mean, she's sitting over there bored out of her mind when a second ago you were having a great conversation. You would think that she would come back and reinitiate the conversation. And you think, why is she not coming back over to reinitiate? You might think that. Why do sometimes guys act in the way they do? Like, even like, what was one for me? I used to always wonder why kids on the playground picked on each other. I swear to God, I never understood that for many years, like why kids were always trying to assert status over one another. I would just look at it, I'm like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And sometimes I would do it and I felt really dumb about it later. I remember once, like, I made fun of this retarded kid, and I just felt like the biggest, because everyone used to do it, and I participated in one day. I felt like a massive moron for, like, the next 6 months. So, look, what do women do? Let's look at some of the behaviors that women have. First up, and these are subtle. I want you guys to understand that these are subtle. First up, being totally fulfilled and enraptured by the energy of the environment. So what does that mean? Have you ever been out at a nightclub and you see a group of girls that are just dancing and having fun? Yeah. They're having so much fun, right? And say that like her friend comes up behind her and she's like, Susie. She's like, Susie, right? And they start hugging and jumping up and down. You ever been talking to a girl and then her friend comes up from behind and just totally ends it for you because they start jumping up and down and hugging each other and stuff like that?
Or like a song comes on and they're just fucking on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Who here was around in 2004 doing this? Anybody? Do you guys remember the Hey Ya song by Outkast? How many times did friggin' Andre 3000 cock block you?
They disappear. They just poof. They're gone.
Yeah, no joke. Me and my buddy Mike were talking to these two girls, and we were joking about this because that was like at the height of the song. We're joking about it, and the two girls like, we would never do that. We're not going to leave if that comes on. We promise. Okay. The song comes on, and the girl like looks. They go, we're so sorry. We're sorry, right? And they just run, okay? They ran out because like the girls just stormed the dance floor, all right? Isn't it funny how like as a guy you could enjoy dancing, but when the right song comes on for a woman most of the time, it's like she's being tickled almost, right? It's like it's tickling her. It's like I remember seeing a girl in a restaurant server when the Hey Ya song came on, and she's walking with her things, and the Hey Ya song comes on, she's like that, and the shit fell over. All right, all the shooter glasses fell on the ground because it was like it was tickling her. She's like, ooh, ooh, like that. All right, with the whole, with the whole song thing.
Those guys do that too, though.
They're gay.
Like,
yeah,
like I got that one, like for example, like the move, bitch, get out.
You take like a pimp strut, it's like move, bitch. You're like.
Nah, because it's like that beat is so fucking loud.
It's a different energy though. Because for a guy, it's about
you don't jump up and down like, oh my God, what's up? But you just go like.
Yeah. Okay. See, I wish I was more like that, right? But let me ask you this, and it's actually an honest question. If you're talking like a really hot girl, okay, and you've like made out already and stuff, but you haven't even got the number, and then the Move Bitch song comes on, are you like fuck this? You're like or are you or right? Or do you stick in? What do you do?
Yeah, I guess I'll stick in.
Yeah. See, so but I don't know. And also different people like you may. Okay, and this is actually it sounds like a negative thing, it's actually a good thing. You may be more in touch with that feminine side of your polarity, you know what I'm saying? Like don't worry, that's a good thing, okay? That's a good thing, all right? It's called being well-rounded, okay? So, unlike most dudes that are kind of just like, okay? So, so that's a good thing. All right, so look, women are very enraptured with the energy of their environment. Like, have you guys ever been, God forbid, ever been into a girl's bedroom before? Right? Anyone made it? Have you made it there? Because I haven't, right? Okay? You went there twice. Okay. What's it like, man? All right. So you go in like a girl's bedroom, and have you ever noticed like they could have like the unicorn poster up, or pictures, all like the pictures and stuff,
Teddy bears all over the place, man.
They have what?
Like teddy bears and shit.
Yeah, teddy bears, right? And you're like, this one I got it here, and it makes me feel so warm.
There was
and this one is this.
Like when they were 3 years old, and the feet falling off and like shit, but
Yeah. See, this is how I found out what's inside a girl's bedroom. I just asked the class.
The Journey poster.
The Journey poster. That's Jeffy's room. All right.
Oh shit, it's probably Jeffy's.
Yeah. Jeffy's actually got an Easy E poster up on the wall like that. All right, so look. Okay. Next. Dressing and walking in a way that gets attention. So look, think of it this way. We're thinking polarity, like that magnet of attention that a woman has. So say that she's sitting there dancing with her friends, just going nuts. As a guy, you see that, and you could wish that you could be a part of that. It can draw your attention. Likewise, a girl has a certain way of walking, right? And she develops this unconsciously. So she, sways the hips. She might push out her chest, whatever it is. She has a certain way of moving and a certain way of dressing that will pull, right? It pulls the attention. So again, that's that sort of polarity, right? And notice how some women have a strong polarity like that and some don't. We use the Hillary Clinton example. You're probably not going to see Hillary, walking up beside Obama, like, right? Like that. You're not so much likely to see that. Next up.
Whereas Monica's like the feminine.
Which Monica? Monica Lewinsky? Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that could be a great example. Next up. This is a big one, and as a guy, you should do the same thing too. Enjoying whatever she's doing and not scanning the room looking for people to meet. So if you guys ever notice a really hot girl, a lot of time they'll tend to walk sort of almost like a straight line in a way. Like if they're walking through the the venue, they're kind of just like they go like that. They're not like the needy guy, for example, all right? She'll kind of walk like that, especially a girl who's really gorgeous. She'll be walking through, say you're at a restaurant, for example. Mm-hmm. So you're at the restaurant, and you're sitting down, and you've got, this gorgeous girl that has so much attention walking through. So she'll kind of walk through just sort of on her path, right, as everybody else turns their heads to look up. You can see a girl who's not used to being hot. Maybe she dressed hotter than she normally does. who's, she's kind of like, right, like, oh, I got all this attention. But a girl who's had it for years and years and years, she doesn't really react that strongly to it. She's just like, boom. She's kind of she's doing her own thing. And that makes you want her even more. You guys ever seen the cover of Cosmo magazine? How the girls have kind of like the bitch look, right? They have that look like where they're just kind of doing their own thing. And it's like, and it's got that kind of like goddess look to it.
Catwalk models.
What's that? Oh yeah, catwalk models is a great example. Next up, guys. Letting the energy of the environment flow through her, and even dancing for hours and hours on the same spot and playing mock bisexual with her friends. Yeah. Okay? So, when we really think about it, that's a really interesting one to me. Especially the whole mock bisexual thing. I find that really interesting. Now, on one level, look, sometimes girls just want to dance, right? They want to dance, and they don't want to dance with any of the guys there because whether they don't like them or they have a boyfriend at home, or they just don't want to dance with guys. And they'll dance with their girlfriends and just be silly. That's fine. But on another level, all right, I really want to articulate this to you guys in a way that you understand, because once you understand this, a lot of things are going to click into place. So I really need you to follow me here. Because we're like social beings, when we're doing something that our brain says, okay, this has value, like this is giving us status, we will tend to kind of like just sort of stick there, if that makes any sense. We'll kind of tend to keep doing it. So do you guys remember on the first day when I talked about the warm end and the cold end of the pool? Well, say that a girl is up on the speakers, right? And she's dancing with her friends, and she's got the attention, so she has the value. She's in the warm end of the pool now. And so that's why a girl, she can dance doing and when you don't know how to dance, by the way, when you see a girl dancing, it seems like mystical, right? But who here's ever taken like a dance class before, right? So when you actually take a dance class, did you notice how this, like before when a girl was dancing, it looked like almost hypnotizing. But what you realize later is that most girls in the club, their dancing is like not that complicated or anything. It's very straightforward, right? It's very sexy, but it's not like when I used to see it, I was like, I don't know how she's doing that or what's going on, right? Later you realize it's actually pretty straightforward. So the girl might sit there doing the same couple moves, like same kind of like rhythm for we're talking 4 hours here.
She gets in a trance.
Yeah, she gets in a trance, right? We're talking, really think about this. We're talking 1 hour, 2 hour, even up to 3, 4 hours if she's going to dance from say 10 until 2 or 11 until 3. 4 hours on the same spot. Likewise, playing mock bisexual with her friends. So what's going on there? Well, what's basically going on is this. If you have a celebrity, as an example, and someone wants to be friends with that celebrity, and the celebrity says, let's go and get my groceries. The person who's following that celebrity will feel like it's a worthwhile investment of their time and energy to follow him around or her around to get those groceries. All right? Because they're in it's like, ooh, I'm getting groceries with Tom Cruise. This is the warm end of the pool, right? And people will feel like they're doing it. Likewise, people, when they're at a party, if it's a hot party, they'll stay there for hours and hours and hours while the party's hot. When the party's no longer hot, they leave. So, or likewise, say that remember, the big dinner table? When the value is in one place, people want to stay there. It's the warm end of the pool. When it dissipates, again, they leave. So when a girl's dancing, all right, try to follow this. When a girl is dancing for hours and hours on the same spot, she's in the warm end of the pool. That's why the time will pass. Likewise, I think a lot of guys mistake what pulling means. This is kind of a side tangent, but a lot of guys have a mistake in their minds about what it means to pull the girl from the club. A lot of guys think that it's so, you want to get out of here? And it's it's on for sex immediately. All right? And sometimes that happens. Look, especially as you get older. Look, let me tell you something. As you get more and more into the natural style, you're going to start getting instances where girls will say shit like, God, I'm so horny. I need you to take me out of here. And you'll get cases like that once a month. And you'll be like, oh my God. All right? You'll see that. It's a very rare thing, but you will see it, including with especially really, really hot girls will say that to you because they know what they want. And when a girl who's super hot knows what she wants, she's a lot more likely just to have the balls to just take it. Okay? Now, when you extract a girl out of the club, you're thinking, oh, like, is this like a sex thing? Is it like to get this really good food? No, it's that she's in the warm end of the pool. If you and your friends are the cool guys, and you say the party's going this way, she just wants to stay in the moving party, the moving circus, the moving hot tub. That's why she's coming with you, right? You're the party. You're the one having fun. You're like, hey, let's go. She's like, okay. Boom, it's moving. She's not thinking about what she's doing. She's not, you know what I'm saying? She's not thinking about it. It's just happening. She's just responding to her emotions. So, girls stay on the same spot for hours and hours. Why? Because they know that they're getting that attention. They know that that's the warm end of the pool. Next up, rarely being the one to call, ask out, or reinitiate a conversation. Some girls will, right? Some girls will call you, no problem. Some girls will reinitiate conversations. Some girls, will make the move. I actually like that. I find that, me personally, I don't like games. Like, to me, the game thing is just silly. To me, almost viewed as insecure. But I don't, I try not to judge her or anything because we all have our insecurities. But the point is, I don't really like that much. I like a girl who knows what she wants. But the thing is like, most girls have it programmed within them not to reinitiate. And why is that?
Because our society tells them to, like,
yeah. Social programming huge, right? Like, look at the movie Hitch. Right? The girl's like a bitch the entire way through, and then it's like, he's like, I love her, right? So it's almost like teaching women that that's what's hot, right?
Books like The Rules.
Yeah, books like The Rules, right? But you know what? I actually like books like The Rules because I like it when a girl does not act like needy and start trying to call me like all the time and stuff, right? But regardless, okay, so say that you have, you're talking to a girl, okay? Conversation, and say that like the bouncer sort of blasts by, and it gets pushed apart. A lot of times she just stands there and goes back to her friends or whatever. Mm-hmm. Why is that? Well, again, it's creating that polarity because it's creating that feeling inside of the guy that she's the prize, right? So a lot of the time, girls will pass up on great opportunities just because their unconscious mind has learned the behavior, be the prize. And I want you guys to really think about this. These are unconsciously learned behaviors, okay? These are unconsciously learned behaviors. Look, in the same way, say that a guy is becoming, take a guy, right? He's becoming like an alpha male at a young age, and he learns if someone doesn't have enough status or isn't interesting enough, if they try to talk to me, I don't hear it, right? So he learns that. That's why I remember when you're a kid and there's someone you try and talk to and like they won't answer you back, like give you like a straight answer, and you're like, why are they doing that? What's the point of that? I don't understand. Well, it's a socially learned behavior. So women have these, again, to assert a polarity, they have these socially learned behaviors. Next up, gotta love this one. Losing interest in sex if she comes out of a happy emotional state. You guys remember the Chris Rock comedy show? Where he says most guys will talk themselves out of getting laid, yeah. Right? Like the girl's like, she's ready to have sex, and then the guy says something stupid, she's like, oh, like that. It's that kind of vibe where it's like, if the girl, you know how as a guy, most of the time you probably just want to have sex either way? Whereas with a girl, if she loses her happy state, she just doesn't want to have sex anymore. She's like, I'm no longer interested, all right? Is it that she really is no longer interested? Not necessarily, but that's her unconscious mind's way of putting guys in a situation where they're always trying to keep her in a happy state. All right, now here's the next one. This is one of the most vexating things to guys of anything. Only being moved by the energy that she likes the most, so only being moved by an energy that's better than the one that she's already experiencing. I hate that, right? Yeah, and see, here's what's going on there. So say that you have a woman and she's having fun with her friends. She's having a great time. And you come along, right? And you're not offering more value to the situation that she's having on her own. Well, of course, she's not going to be moved by that. She's going to go where the energy is, all right? Where the social energy is, the woman goes. This is also why looks has so little to do with meeting women. Because women are going to go where the social energy is more than anything. And lastly, and this is kind of a funny one, rewarding good behavior with little tastes of physical attention. So what do all these things do? All right? Let's look at all these things kind of like in an amalgam. What do they all add up to? First of all, do all girls have these behaviors?
Yeah.
No.
All of them have some of them on some level, but pretty much.
Some girls could benefit by adding in these behaviors, right? They know a girl who's too straight, right? She is too rigid. She does not have those behaviors. Some girls have all of them. Have you guys ever met a girl who is literally just almost uncontrollable? Mm-hmm. Right? Just like a wild girl. She's completely uncontrollable, right? And as a guy, it's almost like your instinct is almost like to try to almost get it because you want that validation. Okay? Of course, that's not always the best kind of girl to be in a relationship with at all, is it? That's like the equivalent of the girl that dates the jerk guy, right? And then meanwhile, you yourself kind of fall into that mindset. But look, different girls have these behaviors to different extents. Some have a lot of them. Some have none of them at all. Most have one or two. But let's think of what it adds up to. She's moving in a way that draws attention. She's with her friends doing her thing. They're dancing, right? They're rewarding good behavior with a little bit of physical attention and then retracting it, right? She's moved by the energy that she likes. As soon as she doesn't like it anymore, it gets pulled away. What is this doing to the guy? What is this doing to you?
Drawing him in.
Sucks you in, right? It gives you this vexing feeling that if you don't keep her in a good emotional state and satisfying her needs, that she will flutter off like the little butterfly that she is.
Makes you reactive on.
It gets you extremely reactive. What happens when you start to emotionally invest into somebody? When you emotionally invest into somebody, does that make you more attached or less attached to the outcome?
More attached.
All right? So you continue to invest your time, emotions, and energy into this girl. And the more that you invest, the more that you backwards rationalize that you're invested and that what you were doing had a good reason, and then the more that you keep investing ad nauseum. All right? What the girl's basically putting into you is that she will be totally fine without you. She's totally happy on her own. This is a girl with a very strong polarity. She's totally happy. Why is she happy without you? Because the energy of the environment is fulfilling her. She doesn't need you. So most guys get trapped by this. So what's like the classic date, right? Like the classic date where the guy's like, okay, first I've got to bring her the flowers, then I've got to bring her the movie, like put her in a good emotional state, right? Then I've got to bring her to a restaurant that she likes and keep her in a good emotional state there.
It's irrelevant.
Right? What are they trying to do? They're trying to create polarity themselves. We'll get into that. But the thing is, she is creating that vexing feeling. Now, how about guys? How do guys do that in return? How can you?
By having a strong sense of purpose and not being distracted by female energy.
Yeah, I mean, does a girl want a guy who is that affected?
No.
You guys ever see the movie American Pie? Do you remember the girl Nadia? Was it Jason Biggs? Is that the guy, right? And just looking at her with his clothes off, or with her clothes off, he's like, oh, right? And then he finishes. So see, on one level, right, and that's very unattractive, right? So on one level, look, the girl wants the guy who's responding to her, right? She wants the guy who's attracted, but she wants to play the game of trying to do that to you. That's her fun. Do you see that? Her fun in this is like that little game, like how can I get him, right? Like how can I get that attention? How can I, make him respond, all right? And that's like what sex is, like when you're having sex and the girl's like trying to turn you on. She's trying to, get you to respond, all right? And so, and then you do the same back, right? And so on and so forth. So the thing is like, on one level, yeah, she wants you to respond, but on another level, not too much, all right? You have to be centered, and then maybe it's almost like this. You're centered, and then she kind of pulls you out a bit, then you get your center back. She might pull you out a bit, you get your center back. Whereas most guys, what is it like? Okay, right? No center at all. So, for guys, first up, the first thing that you can do, but I'll get into the pros and cons of this, is called flipping the script. And this is a fascinating concept. By the way, I don't do it myself, but I used to, and I'll tell you the pros and cons of it. Flipping the script, I believe, I'm not totally sure, is an old pimp term. Is that right, guys? Anyone know about this? Okay, well, you guys know what a pimp is, right? They seem to be getting popular these days. Like it seems to be like a cool thing to be a pimp, which is actually probably one of the least respectful professions you could have, but nonetheless it's gotten to be cool because they have a kind of style about them. Well, what pimps will do is they'll flip the scripts. Like, one thing that pimps do is like they won't have sex with the girl, right? Like, they won't sleep with their girl. That's like one of the things that they'll do. And they make the girl chase them. Or they'll say, here, take my phone number, I'm not going to call you. Like, they'll do stuff like that. That's called flipping the script. Now, a lot of these behaviors, like, for example, rewarding the girl with little taste of physical attention and then pulling it away, looking like you're having fun by the energy of the environment and maybe giving her a bit of attention, this can flip the script and get a girl chasing you. What's also interesting about it is this, though. When you're playing off of a feminine polarity, all right, when you're flipping the script, you are using that feminine polarity. And so what you'll find that you'll get is you'll get a lot of girls asking if you're gay. Okay? Has anyone ever had that before? All right. So see, what happens is you're tapping into that kind of feminine polarity, and then what begins to happen is you can come across as being gay. And some girls like that. Like, some girls want, like, they're like incredibly attracted to gay dudes, right? And so when I first started a lot of this, I was always flipping the script all the time, and that, and I used to get asked that a lot, but I still got a lot of attraction, so it was still working. But how about a masculine polarity then? All right? When we think of masculine polarity, and we're not flipping the script, all right? We're not necessarily trying to flip the script. What are some things that a guy can do without flipping the script in order to assert polarity? Because I think it's fun to flip the script a little bit. Like, I like to flip the script a little bit just to flirt, maybe like a little bit here and there just as a tease, but it's not like the basis of what I'm doing.
It makes them drop their guard.
Takeaways?
Flipping the script is fun, a little bit. Just to kind of like, just like throw out little teases like that, but that's not the basis of what I'm doing at this point. All right, so first of all, first quality that a guy with a very strong polarity has is being at home in the environment. The idea of being at home in your environment has so many ramifications, it's not even funny. All right? Just the idea that you are at home. Okay? The catchphrase is, my house. All right? You guys ever heard that? Yep. This is my house. When you're out at a club and you don't feel like it's your house, you don't feel at home there, women can sense that. It is written all over you. So basically, it's like that nice combination where it's like, this is my house, and everybody here is my friend. So when you approach the girl, you're approaching her as if you're already friends in a way, with that full expectation that you're already friends. It's like, this is my house, this is my environment, we're already friends. Some guys are able to achieve that by going out to the same venue over and over and over. Do any of you guys here have like a favorite venue that you go to over and over? All right. Do you guys notice how when you know the bouncer, you know the promoter, you know the bartender, you know the people there, how much more attractive you are to women when you have that, right? And it's not because they even know that you know anybody, it's because they can sense you're at home, all right? In a minute, I'm going to talk about what it means to be home in the world, but we'll get to that. So look, approaching people as if they're your friends. Now look, next, carrying yourself with total confidence, even a playful cockiness. Total confidence and even a playful cockiness. So have you ever seen a guy, a group of guys, they walk with total confidence, and maybe they kind of like throw their arms around a bit or joke around a bit, jump around a bit, and they've got like a little bit of playful cockiness. All right? You guys ever heard the expression of swagger? All right? What's the swagger mean? Does it mean you're like, okay? Is that what it is? Is that the swag? Right? Like, okay?
Move a little more slowly than most guys, and you're not scanning anywhere. You're just like in your body. You're very grounded.
Yeah.
And you're moving towards where you're going. You're not in a hurry.
Yeah.
You know where you're going. And you're just.
You know what's up. You're feeling the vibe in yourself, right? Yeah. That's a swag, man. That's a swagger, right? And you can see some guys that do not have the swagger. They're kind of like that, and some guys, they've just got like that relaxed thing. That's the swagger. It's like they're feeling that within their body. And on a very, very subtle level, okay, not an exaggerated, cartoonish, comic level, but on a very subtle level, they've got that kind of emanating from them, all right? That's the swagger. Now, we talked about grounding energy. Being the source of grounding energy and asserting them what you have to say is funny, interesting, and worth being heard. So look, when you see a guy who's really confident, when he speaks, he knows that what he has to say is interesting. He knows that what he has to say is worth being heard. He knows that what he has to say is funny. Even when what he's saying is not objectively funny, it is subjectively funny. And people will tend to laugh at it. He thinks it's funny. He's self-amusing. Next up, leading the conversation in the fun or whatever direction you want it to go. All right, we talked about being the anchor of the conversation, moving the conversation in the fun direction that you want it to go in. One thing that Tim likes to do, if a girl starts talking about serious things in a club, he'll say, "What are you talking about this for? This is a club." That's because he's leading the conversation. Do the same. Take it in the direction that you want it to go. That's called being the man. Likewise, okay, and look, if the conversation that this is where guys get confused, right? If the girl is having a conversation with you that you are interested in, do you have to change it onto something else to make her like you?
No.
Of course not. But guys get stuck in that. They're like, "Oh, I need to change the conversation." No, look. You're leading the conversation in the direction that you want it, but if you're enjoying what she's saying, then ultimately she's speaking for your approval now, isn't she?
Yes. She's
speaking for your enjoyment. So let her, right? You don't need to lead it. But the point is the conversation is where you're enjoying it. All right, how about taking orders, justifying yourself, or responding to nonsense? It's the same thing. And lastly, and this is very, very, very subtle. This is a subtle, subtle distinction that is absolutely pivotal to being a natural. Positioning yourself as already chosen by every girl in the environment, and you are choosing the girl that you like.
What do you mean?
All right, let me get into the subtleties of it. All right, so I'm gonna pick you up for a sec, okay? So we'll hop over here. All right, now say that a girl's walking by, okay? And you say that she's, okay, yeah, here. Walk by, right? And you go, "Hey, who are you?" Okay? Right? Or same thing, like say that you're walking here, walk over here, all right? No need to be too worried, okay? Now look, just be walking back this way, walk this way, all right? "Hey, okay, who are you?" Okay? Okay? All right? Now see, look what I'm doing there. From one angle, you guys could see that this would be me trying to get her. Do you guys see that? Okay, I'm trying to get her, all right? But no, that's not what I'm doing. When I'm pulling in, I'm saying, "Now is your chance." All right, so have a seat. Thank you. Okay, you guys give a clap for him for doing that. Okay, thank you. All right, coming from the audience. All right, so look, ultimately, when you pull a girl in to speak with her, it's not like you're trying to impress. What you're really doing is it's like, look, you are assuming that you're already chosen by everyone there. Okay? Think of yourself as like the guy whose house it is. It's your party. It's your house. All right? Tim would call that being the Lord. So it's your party, your house, and you're like, you're speaking here. You see a girl who you want to talk to, so now you're pulling her in saying, "Who are you?" Or maybe introduce yourself or whatever it is. And basically what the unconscious sub-communication is, "Now is your chance."
Sounds
right?
Like tapping?
Sure. Hey, boom, start talking, okay? Now is her chance to speak with you. So basically, what you're saying is, I take what I want. I see what I want, I take it. Why is that an attractive thing to a woman, a man who sees what he wants and takes it?
Shows your strength of intention and you're acting in accordance with the purpose. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Look, if you're a guy who does not take the things that he wants, how can she trust you? What can she know about you? So you have to be a guy who's, we talked about resourcefulness, right? The girl wants to see that it's not like you're like, "Hey, baby, look at these things I've accomplished in life. I'm so resourceful." But it's almost like that subtle level of resourcefulness, that really subtle level, and she can see that, all right? She sees that you're a guy who's at home in the world. So essentially what you're doing is you're taking the frame of, "I'm already chosen by everybody, and I'm giving you a chance to speak." Now look, as a newbie, going out and trying something like that, it's a stretch. I'm not going to lie, right? You're like, "Okay, I'm the chosen one," all right? The chosen one. You're like, "Who are you?" Right? And it's not going to be there at first. But carrying yourself as the one who is already chosen, almost like, imagine the way that a guy like Prince William or Prince Harry, the kind of belief systems that they would have, the ways that they would carry themselves, right? They're already chosen by countless women. So at this point, if they want to speak with a girl, they'll go over and speak with her. All right? So this is very much the opposite of sort of like, hooking her in very indirectly. This is like you just see what you want, you take it. It's needy, if you're going in there and giving your power away. It's highly, highly needy. But when you're not giving your power away, it's extremely effective. Let me tell you how effective it is. It's so effective and so easy that when you figure it out, you'll probably start to develop an ego around it and it'll stop working. That's how effective it is. Because when I first learned this, when I first learned that all that you really have to do to attract women is just walk up, pull them over and say, "Who are you?" and sit there, I couldn't believe it. All right? I was like, this is amazing. And I would look at other guys. I got to the point where if any guys are putting in any effort to be successful with women, I almost thought it was a joke. I was like, oh, I feel bad for them, man. They don't realize the truth. You just walk up, pull her over, and she'll start qualifying herself to you. So you can actually look at some of my old boot camp testimonials where they're like, Tyler just walks up to the girl and she just sits there qualifying herself to him. It's amazing. All right? And that's because I basically learned, how to be the selector. Do you want to know what started to happen to me, though? About a month in, when it was working really, really well, I got to the point where I was like, I wasn't really doing it to be the selector anymore. I was just doing it to prove that my new theory worked, right? It was like, I'm going to prove that this theory works. And so now, I wasn't going in there to be the selector anymore, was I? I was going in there to get validation. Was it validation of myself? No. It was validation of the technique. That's also why. What is one of the worst identities that you can have for yourself?
Pickup artist.
A pickup artist. Why is that? Because if every girl that you're approaching, you're trying to validate the identity, I'm a pickup artist, then even though you're not needy for her, you don't even want her approval, you just want her approval that you're a pickup artist. What is the only guy in the world who wants validation even from a girl who he's not attracted to at all? A pickup artist. You know what I'm saying? Okay? So the thing is, that's why that's a horrible identity. A real man, like a guy with a really strong polarity, he's not going up to the girl going, let me validate my pickup artist identity. All right? What he's doing is he's just being the selector. I'm interested to talk to her. Let's see what she's about. So essentially, the girl views it as an opportunity to speak with you. Okay?
When it doesn't work, sometimes doesn't that affect your ego as a chooser, though, and you have to defend that?
There's a whole can of worms that happens when it doesn't work, and we're going to talk about that today and tomorrow.
Is this why you say just laugh your ego away so none of this ever happens?
Oh, yeah. Look, that whole big pimp image that you have of yourself, get over it. Get over it. All right, now look. What is this doing to girls? In the same way, you guys remember how, for a girl, what's happening is that she's putting her polarity, and what's the guy feeling? She could leave it any second, right? So the guy's like, I have to keep being the good energy. I have to keep providing the good energy. And so he's feeling that draw. Well, likewise, when you as a guy have a lot of polarity, what she's basically feeling is that you will do whatever you want. You're the chooser. You will do whatever you want. As a result, because you're going to do whatever you want, on some level, she always knows that you could just stand up and go get another girl, doesn't she? She always knows that. So, for example, have any of you guys ever been doing really well with a girl, maybe you're sitting on a stool and she starts dancing in front of you? You ever had that? She just starts grinding and dancing in front of you, and she's trying to hold your attention. And what you can even do is, when she does, a really good, dancing, you, really look entranced, and then when it's not quite as good, you might kind of just, wander a bit, and then she tries to pull your attention back, and she loves that, right? That's, the flirtation, okay? So, it's the same kind of thing, all right? I guess, on a certain level, what these behaviors do is they make the girl feel like she's in a warm blanket when she's around you, all right? She feels protected and having fun while in your presence, but also challenged by the fact that you're so indifferent to social constraints that if she doesn't hold your attention, you might stray. So what is the difference between guys and girls? The key difference. What I'm going to teach you guys next is the source of polarity. All right? Where it comes from, how to get it, and how to create a situation where when you're speaking to a girl, you can just stand there totally still, and she's going to feel those emotions going through her. All right, so what's the main difference between guys and girls that allows us to make those key distinctions, the key distinction between guys and girls and where they get their energy from? All right, look. In guys, we have something called the sweet spot that women are not restricted to. Okay? So look, have any of you ever had a girlfriend where her friend calls her up on the phone and she says, oh, I'm so upset about something. I'm so upset about this. And she goes, oh, that's terrible. And she hangs up and then excitedly, very gleefully says, I'm going to Susie's house. We're going to go cry together. All right? Ever experienced that?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that women don't like to cry? Or don't like to have drama?
I love it.
Of course they do. They don't have to cry if it's something legitimately bad happened. But the point is that they want to experience what's called a range of emotions. All right? Women want to experience all their emotions. They want to experience them fully. How about guys? How many emotions do we want to experience?
Orgasm.
Right? How could we define the sweet spot? Would we say happy, chill, maybe some adrenaline, and getting off? Okay? If you could maintain that sweet spot for the rest of your life, how happy would you be? Right? That would be it. We'd be fine. See, we are more limited. We have a sort of sense of resistance whenever we go outside of that sweet spot. For women, they're not limited by that. They're not confined by that. As a guy, we look at women and we think they're just crazy. Right? From a woman, she looks at a guy and she thinks we're rigid. We're confined. We're restricted. So women are more free to experience the full emotional range. Now as guys, we like to watch maybe like the sad movie once in a while, whatever it is. That's fine too. But for the most part, that other 90% of the time, we'd like to be in the sweet spot. So, why is it then that a man, when we have masculine polarity, we must draw state from within ourselves, but for a woman, she can draw state from the environment? Well, that's a very simple thing. The environment is always changing, isn't it? The environment is always fluctuating. It's always changing. What that means is that there's going to be things that maybe you're upset about, stressed out about, whatever. For a woman, she can draw state from the environment because she wants to experience the full range of emotions. So it is completely okay for her to be getting her state off of the environment. For a man, if you draw your state off the environment, it's a losing strategy. Because what happens when you draw your state off the environment sometimes?
It can change.
Change. Some flux. You can get pissed off. You get angry. You can get annoyed about things. You can be upset. You may not feel as happy as you want to feel. So as a man, you can never be drawing your state or your happiness off of the environment. You can enjoy the environment. You can say, wow, this is beautiful. But the point is that as a man, you do not have the luxury so much of drawing state off of your environment. What are the consequences of all this? What does this mean? Well, first of all, what does it mean to draw state from within yourself? This is where social conditioning comes back. As a guy, growing up in modern society, we are always taught to look at the surface of things. We're taught that, the never-ending stimulation is where the enjoyment is. We are not really geared to look at the depth. But the truth is, we can feel good within ourselves at any point. It's simply a decision that you make and where you allow your awareness to go. Okay? So, this is sort of a weird little glitch, because once you realize that state is more self-generated than externally generated for a guy, a lot of your motivations in life have just completely changed, haven't they?
Oh, yeah.
Like, that one little realization changes everything for you. Because rather than trying to continually get your state from the environment, you realize that you get it from within yourself. So let's sort of think about what this means, all right? How do we do this? So look, I'll borrow you for a second, okay? So come on up here. So we're standing here, and, you look out. Okay, so it's whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Just a room. Whatever.
It's a nice room.
Thanks. Thank you. All right, so look, room, whatever. How could he be in a good state right now, right? I mean, it's just a room. There's nothing to feel good about. It's just a room. He's been put on the spot right now. There's definitely nothing to feel good about. That's how a lot of guys would think. But see, the thing is, at any point that you choose, you can feel that within yourself. All right? You can choose to feel that within yourself. And that's a very attractive quality in a man. So why don't we say, look, what are some ways that we can change our state? What are some sources that we draw off of when we draw off of ourselves? Can you think about it? Anyone have any suggestions?
Memories.
Memories? So thinking about the past?
It's not something that happened they really enjoyed in the past.
Yeah.
Okay.
Appreciation? Imprints? What's that?
You can appreciate.
Okay.
The small things.
Sure.
Thinking about what's awesome about whatever moment that you're in right now. If you feel like,